The semifinals and grand finals of the, is it the winter semester? I forget how that works. I think it is. Wait, no. Is there a spring? That's like winter and fall. Not important. All right, I didn't finish school. But these schools will see who's finished by the end of the day. As the semifinals and finals, we have the survivors, the Rochester Institute of Technology and Columbia University, and the winner moving on to face the University of Michigan in the grand finals. Happening soon, TM. Some incredibly interesting and honestly very exciting games yesterday. Definitely something different than you might be used to seeing from the bleeding edge, boring, perfect players. But also something you'll never see from them. So, we'll be getting that losers bracket match started soon. The Tigers versus the Lions. And the winner faces the Wolverines. Pick your animal. Unfortunately, the Huskies were knocked out, as well as the Tritons. But, and in case you're coming in early, and you have happened to be at a school yourself and are interested in something like this, maybe we can add it in. This is the first time in several years we've had more than the Michigan versus Michigan State. Cool of Washington to host. Unfortunately, while their hosting skills are top-notch, it appears the StarCraft skills didn't quite come. Cybertron versus Nothing's Perfect in TVZ. Oh, we found our Zerg player. Good to go. I put on my protest versus Terran versus protest. A Zerg, yes. Columbia University fielding who might be our only Zerg of the tournament. But so far undefeated in matches that I've seen, which is one match, but still. Best of 3 series. So, I'm not sure if this is a best of 3 overall, but in Team League style. Yeah, we'll see. And here we go. Yeah, Columbia in blue. Match number 1. Cybertron versus Unfortunately, ran out of characters, and those characters means that vowels will have to go by the wayside. We saw some decidedly aggressive roach strategies out of Nothing's Perfect in the previous day. I'm not sure how much they've studied up on their opponents. But for the Rochester Institute of Technology Tigers in the orange, in the top right, the Terran. Appropriately named Cybertron. And somehow still also appropriately named for the Zerg from the Columbia University Lions. We We have Nothing's Perfect. The winner of this Team League series. So, multiple players, multiple matches. But whoever comes out on top goes to the grand finals against the University of Michigan. Should have that up somewhere. There we go. Production quality. Production quality. That's... Thank you for sharing. You know, I feel like that would somehow help with the StarCraft, but I might be biased towards the K-pop. Back in my day, Gundam Style was just this small indie video that they showed on GSL. Okay. It seemed to get a little more popular past that point. Okay, I don't think indie was right, but still. A roach warren on the way, so. Kind of the situation of, alright, he has one build, he has two builds. Alright, he has two builds. Now, so far, no Terran has been able to stop this level of unwarranted, yet effective Zerg aggression. Will Cybertron be the first one to do so? Is he respecting... He spotted the Roach Warden, so should be taking this with the seriousness it deserves. The Roach Warden, it's completing. And he has enough money for at least 3 or 4 roaches as the Overlord pops out. The Zerglings slipping around. So, 1 Marine is not enough to defend 4 Zerglings. Especially... Uh-oh. Well... Not sure he really registered the implications. This may be one of those scenarios where it said on Pig's build order guide that I'm supposed to scout, so I did. Now, unfortunately, a very relevant part of that is interpreting what you scout and reacting to it, which is something that is a little harder to teach. So, good thing these guys are going to school. And the Reaper almost gets the catch, but honestly, slowing it down this much, the command center may not finish. So, he's getting 2 yep. Sure, another command center. Does seem a little optimistic. Not sure that Roach Warren registered. And this game might be looking more one-sided than a Mobius Strip here. As the command center doesn't even get to cut the banner on it. And, well, 1 Reaper versus 3 Roach. It just kind of keeps working.
He's dead, Joe.
And for the 3rd time in a row from Nothing's Perfect, he'll whip out the roaches. And for the 3rd time in a row, it seems like the Terrans do not respect them. GG! And it just kind of ends. All right, learning experience. Somehow our Zerg games, the quickest so far, well, really embodying the Zerg rush. I guess it's a stereotype nowadays, but it wasn't always. That Zerg games are usually longer and more macro-oriented. Well, that's partially because at the extreme bleeding edge, with so little oxygen there, high up, that was the implication, it does become difficult to do early aggression effectively. But anywhere else, well... Are they for real from Colombia? Yeah, would any Zergs go to Colombia? Disgusting. I don't know what the stereotypes are, but... Not to racially profile. Does seem like more of a Terran school. But with a chance to redeem himself for the Rochester Institute of Technology. Cybertron. And again, nothing's perfect for Columbia. Just ripping through. The roaches continue working, so he's going to continue building them. Honestly, it really did feel like a scenario of, well, I scouted. I sent the SCV. It's like, no, but you have to look at what... When they build a roach warren. This is an angry coach. Alright? But you go to school to learn. So I'm going to take the Terrans to school here. You don't just check off the scouting box. You do have to not go 3cc if they have a roach warren on one base. I know. Seems unfair, but occasionally it happens. It's going to be a pull. The hatch is on the way, but significantly delayed. And of course, in a more even scenario, the Roach All-In is not supposed to really do, or it doesn't have to do game any. This is just shameless. All right. The Roach Warren was scouted by the SCV. He saw it with his eye ports. So this is your opportunity to demonstrate your ability to learn. A command center on the high ground. A strong adaptation. A good start. Some SCVs contemplating their next move. Several SCVs We will see. Just the command center on the high ground makes it a lot less vulnerable. So a good move to mitigate some of the more dangerous things. And a bunker. Now, there's no Marines. The barracks is running off. The Zerglings are going to be a bit troublesome. Now we see. Okay, raises the depot just in time. Optimistically getting a reactor on the barracks, which is going to be problematic. But... And the bunker taking a lot of damage. But it will hold for now. Thing is, there are no units in the bunker. Because... So... if we were playing a best of 9... I feel like maybe we'd come up with a great response to the roaches. Unfortunately, it is a best of 3. And that means the options are running out pretty quickly. Thankfully, the Reaper does manage to get into the bunker. Just targeting it. There's a corrosive bow. Good micro away. Holding the high ground. Targeting SCVs, but those losses are bound to happen in this sort of scenario. And actually, you know what? And that's it. That's a hold. And while it might be a bit painful... Oh, nice micro again. But the roaches overstayed their welcome. There's some drones behind. And while it wasn't the cleanest, nothing's perfect. Drop some mules, and the worker disparity is a little rough. But behind this, a third hatchery, a lair is on the way. But with 2 command centers, the only downside is a lack of a starport now. Nothing's perfect, forcing the Terrans to adapt in real time. And it's almost certainly going to be mutas, as this is the classic Zerg whiplash strategy, where you go from an almost all-in ground-based strategy to a completely air-based one. And then probably back to ground. You just swing around the tech tree like Primal Tarzan. We'll see. a spire in a cheeky location as well. It's gonna be Mutas. The Reaper gets a bounce around. Factories on the way. Gonna be going mech to follow this up. Multiple factories. And a siege tank's done. This will be spotted by the Overlord on the high ground. But a smart opportunity to move out here. Try to take advantage. He spotted the third base and the kind of minimal amount of roaches. So forcing the issue, Cybertron taking the initiative. Roach speed is a long way off. The Spire is not nearly done. Roaches and Ravagers, the Cyclone. Well, could have been a little quicker on the reaction, but just the existence of these siege tanks is already slowing things down. Slowly leapfrogging forward. Multiple Ravagers. A single Muta, but he successfully, though he doesn't know it yet, he successfully prevented the Mutas from being a major threat here. The siege tanks, he's trying to get at point-blank range, but actually eating a few extra siege tank hits. A single Muta, as nothing's perfect, actually. Pretty hard supply blocked. Roach speed is closing in. There's not many units back at home, so that is the big danger here. Plus, that single Muta actually, showing even one Muta gives this all away. The Roaches and Ravagers, a little summoning circle here. There's no Zergling speed. The Banshee just kind of flies over everything. Marines rallied across the map. The Muta going to eventually deal with this Banshee, as it is quicker. How many Queens? Oh, almost nails the corrosive bile on it. And the Banshee goes down, but it buys him some very important time. The Roaches and Ravagers are now headed across the map. Will the second Banshee actually spot all this? The tanks are numerous, but completely unsieged. And in one of the worst possible locations they could be. And also currently being spotted by an Overlord. So unfortunately, that means I think he's about to lose the game. The ideas were there, but the execution clearly, well, nothing's perfect. It throws a couple volleys into the command center, but the position was about as horrible as it could ever get. And unfortunately, that means the damage, 54 drones behind it. $13 more Roaches on the way. Those tanks in almost offered up to the altar of Ravagers. 3 Mutas, but their existence forcing out quite a response. Another Banshee. Incremented out. But still a lot of Roaches. SCVs will die again. And it looked for a moment like the momentum could shift. But unfortunately that moment has passed. The third command center. A little bit late. Day late. Dollar short. SCVs pulled. Mutas taken down, but the Roaches continue piling in. As, well, it was better. But it wasn't good enough. There is one Banshee. Well, there's now no more units but SCVs, so it's going to be difficult to recover. But nothing's perfect. Takes another one. A predictable trajectory, but he takes the initiative early. And everyone has a plan until they get any amount of units near their base at the 3-minute mark. Is a classic strategy. How dare he not just sit back in macro for 6 minutes? Still, definitely an improvement. Unfortunately, he doesn't have 5 more games to eventually work out the response. Alright, we'll see who's up next. No, this bracket won't show it. It's up to the team captains, I believe. Who's going to be next? I'm not sure if this is a best of 3 overall series. Yeah, I do actually think, personally, the bunker on the high ground is actually the right play. Against the high, like, the low economy, but not all-in roaches, like, they already have a second hatchery. Building the bunker in that location on the high ground, and then going Cyclone. I think the mistake was more, getting the reactor and not having the Marines early. And then not having a starport for Banshees in a timely fashion. If you're able to get the Banshees out and force more anti-air, then you're constantly scouting and see things like the Lair and the Mutas. But much better than game 1, which was just dying. It is a technical response that if you mess up any part of it, you can just lose the game. But on the other side, the Zerg is committing a huge part of their early economy. Thank you to Sparkle Hands, both organizing much of the event, the captain for University of Michigan, and also being an admin. And setting up the matches. Bronze League Heroes match next. Okay, so he has a Masters border, but his MMR is Platinum 2. So this is a demonstration of the Masters bug, where everyone and their mother is Masters now, quite literally. I wouldn't put Platinum as Bronze, but, you know, I don't think chat will be able to tell the difference. It's time. He might just be playing with himself, but that's a challenge for many people. So, oh, it's Max. Oh, Max is back. Ah, Protoss versus Protoss again. We saw yesterday. Max is, no, I'm sorry. It's, did I make a mistake? Was it supposed to be, and I quote, yoked baller for Colombia. Another Zerg. So we have Nothing's Perfect and Yoked Baller. I didn't know we had another Zerg out there. That's my bad. Let's see. For our Bronze League heroes, we'll give them the Purifier. I think the Purifier skin's really cool. I get to play with the skins like I don't with replays, so that's exciting. No, so the captains put out players of generally a similar level. The idea is to make it fair. So you might be like, is this Bronze League Heroes? Yes, both players are under 3,000 MMR. You might see a Masters border. That means nothing nowadays. It's actually super depressing and annoying that hasn't been fixed in 10 years, but okay. Baller? Is Baller ready? That's what we're... He was too busy getting, yolked with his eggs. There we go, Protoss versus Zerg. In the top right, for the Columbia University Lions, the Zerg in the blue, we have Yolk to Baller. And of course, for the did I not notice this before, or were people not using their tag? I'm not sure. But the Rochester Institute of Technology themed Zergling. Appreciate it. Looks like we're gonna start out with a bold move on both sides. A generic hatch first and a proxy gate. Trying to return some of the cheese. Dawn Seeker. I don't think I said his name. And at this point, I don't know if I want to. An absolute classic Protoss. Is he gonna go for 4? Yeah, sure. Cannot afford it, by the way, but... Well... It's not... the great... Here we are. The Great Summoning Circle of Gateways. This is not usually what 4-gate means, but here we are. The Zealots in production. And optimistically thinking about guess. Already 3 Zealots being built, so... And, I mean, there's no reason to scout this early. That 4 Zealot was a little late to the party, so got a chrono boosted to catch up. And this could easily just be deadly. As 4 Zealots showing up at the 2-minute mark is certainly not the easiest thing to defend. It's all gonna come down to the initial response. Here they come. Yoked Baller. A little late on the reaction. A little late on the okay. The Zerglings. He's building Morlings. Unfortunately, the Zealots will just cut right through them. 12 Morlings on the way. And... Well, there's a bunch... You might... well... The Zerglings. A Roach Horde is on the way. The Zealots are just chilling, which is mighty sporting of them. There's 4 more Zealots at a time. There's not really much of a scenario where this gets easier for Yolk to Baller. So it does seem like the proxy 4-gate Zealot will be more than enough. And, yeah, it's bad. Looks like Yoked Baller just got scrambled. And this game's gonna be over easy. But if you look at the sunny side up, we have Dawnseeker. Maybe taking the match back for his team. So he's looking absolutely cracked right now. Right now. One roach, one queen, one dream, 2 Gs. The story of the rest of this game. As Dawnseeker just cuts his way through. As we speed run our way through these semifinals. Ye old proxy 4-gate zealot. It's an old build. But it checks out. Yep, that's a build order right there. All right. A chance at redemption. Now, is there a reason the Zergs go early pulls? Well, an early pull isn't even necessarily... Well, it's better against it if you scout it. It's not always better just by default because you don't have as much larva to go for the Zerglings. But... team meeting real quick. We gotta... Are we allowing team meetings? Like, intervention? Before he jumps in? Sure. I'll allow it. Might need a pep talk here. This will be a best of 5, so first to 3 points for their team, which is 3 separate matches. They're in a team timeout at the moment. Letting him strategize. All right. While he doesn't see it, we're going to help him out with the simulant skins. We're ready to go. Dawnseeker up 1-0. Now the question everyone's asking, will we do it again? In the top left, for the Rochester Institute of Technology, demonstrating the peak of Protoss technology, building a pylon with 4 gateways next to it. On the other side of the map, we have Dawnseeker, up 1-0. And he's gonna need 2 in a row to bring it back for Columbia. Decides on the spawning pool first. Not the most surprising. It's Yoked Baller. I'll see. A gateway in a more typical fashion. The pylon, I gotta say, the forged orange pylon. The forged pylon. Let's see. This is important. Just ponder the orb, as was said. So this is the forged skin, like the Atarak one. But we have the team colors. The tigers and the lions. Though most lions aren't blue. A drone scout. Was this the team meeting? Like, okay, well now he's playing last game. There is a spine crawler on the way, clearly traumatized by Cheese's past. We do see, this is the second series in a row that we have this. That spine crawler going to be pretty much, well, now that there's a second gate, it might be more useful. And I guess it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. The spine gonna scamper its way down. Got quite a look to it. So, clearly, he's learned to prepare more for the cheese in this game. The overlords are congregating in the top right corner where the convention is scheduled. Dawnseeker with the Stargate on the way. He does now have a zealot. It's always like, usually I would fill in like, this is how the build's gonna go, some like meta commentary. But here, all I can do is just wait and see what happens. And try to interpret the roads that led us here and figure out where they'll end. Or start, really. It's kind of hard to tell as well. Another drone. Not sure where this one's going. Alright. Off he goes. Interesting pathing. There's a Void Ray in production as well. So a decent chunk of drones coming out for Yolk to Baller. The drone. You know, I feel like this is why people hate Protoss, alright? You get 4 gated once, and for the next 50 games, you're scouting with multiple drones and building blind spine crawlers and then wondering why you die straight up to a regular push. Well, you know, away she goes. Hydraless Den, double evolution chamber. Another drone rallied across as they... Wait. Is that the same one? Unclear. No, one drone came home. Another drone was sent out. Usually there's another sort of unit used for these sort of things, but, you know, scouting is always good. Asterisk. The gateway is coming together. A Twilight Council. The Void Ray's somewhere. The scouting drone will reveal it. Zergling speed was a little bit on the later side, but he's remembering it now. 2 adepts at a Void Ray. So, the queens... Get off my creep! Well, that Dawnseeker... That could have gone better. In almost every single way. Overlord. This is why the Overlords are hiding in the corner. Alright, because that's what happens. They get taken out by random stalkers. And now he's hard supply blocked. With 4 more OVs on the way. And we're just hoping he doesn't panic and build 4 more OVs before they finish up. The Overlord. I mean, not the Overlord. The Void Ray tries. Unfortunately, Void Rays are only mildly concerning rather than deadly to queens. Charge in production. Yoked Baller has been cutting into his own economy a bit by, well, various means. But he does have a Hydraless Den. He's building Hydras. No Hydra upgrades. Lurker Den. You're just reading off the production. Dawnseeker with a ambitious amount of gateways coming together. Gonna go double digits. But charge lots, well known to be a strong option. Got an infestation pit. Another hatch. The one thing we don't really have is consistent worker production on either side, but you know, having too much money is just as much of a problem. a third base, and a fourth base for either side, respectively. A spire. What are we missing? +1 ranged attack. So we're going about... Looks like both sides are pulling out their Prima strategy guide. I think they're both too young for that, but... and figuring out which part of the tech tree they have yet to build. And so far, the answer is none of them. We have a Twilight, a Robo, and a Stargate. 2 more Forges as well for Dawnseeker. We've got Double Evo, Lurker Den, Hydra Den, Infestation Pit, and a Spire, as well as a Hive for Yoked Baller. As we go down tech paths never before seen, the Zergling actually gets a full scout of the charge lots on move command. Unfortunately, Yoked Baller is hard supply blocked. Thankfully, Dawnseeker has decided this was just a scouting expedition, as opposed to a direct attack, or it may have been very dangerous. These Zerg rocks will bleed out. A single Lurker. Now, technically, there's an Oracle. But, well, here we are. That Lurker is on the way, but maybe a little bit too late. Actually, it pops out. If he can burrow it, he does. It's revelated, though, so it will be taken down. Actually, you know, it's a mess, but a very even fight thus far somehow. The charge lots getting in the mix, but the Hydras will be enough to take it out. As both players kind of dancing around one another. Which, you know, everybody's had their first time. Dorm room was too dark. And now the Lurkers. Revelation. The Lurker. No, well. Lurker. Hydras. Warp Prism brings in some more units. Lurker's not burrowed. The Revelations have been on point. And, well, there goes the Oracle, but right after it was needed. And the Queens, but the Hydras have +1. The Zealots do not, which is pretty huge. Is it enough? I don't think so. Well, another wave of Zealots, and right before those Zealots came in with +1 and +1 shields, it looked like he might hold. But unfortunately, it now seems unlikely. As the chaos continues. And Dawnseeker may have found his way charging forward. And there's just not enough well, there is enough larva. There's not enough there's not enough units in order to turn this around. The Lurker's just a little bit too late. Dawnseeker, if he could do one thing, it was making sure he had Revelation for those Lurkers. And the Oracle died about 3 seconds after using Revelation on the last Lurker, which made all the difference. The Hydras pop out and get immediately sliced up by the charge lots. GG. And we're all tied up. 1-1. He should have sacked his base to build up his army, expand, or attack. So he should have played the game. Alright. You should be teaching. Big booty fishes. Yoked Baller, I'm sure, would be a willing student. Now, quite an even match. But Dawnseeker eventually retaking the initiative. And clearly the trauma of the proxy gate was very readily apparent. Ah, we're going into Archon mode. So, if you saw it yesterday, we saw especially University of Michigan really demonstrating the power of Archon mode, where the entire team controls one player. We'll see what they pick. Now, the struggles of playing Zerg are quite apparent, as we saw yesterday. Terran, probably the most manageable to delegate if you have any Terran players to work with. But, Yoked is on our team. Archon mode. So you can technically have up to as many players as you can fit into the lobby. It isn't just limited to 2. Who's on which team? Only like 2 or 3 of the players actually have their clan tags, which does feel a little lazy because it's not like they're in another clan, they're just not in one. So, but also, we're filling in the ranks. Now, it's not necessarily an advantage to have more players in Archon mode either. So, as that you could easily get into a too many cooks situation where multiple players are both attempting to do their best to control the same set of units. And if anyone has a serious select all army addiction, that can really drag the whole team down with them. So, all right. Steal hotkeys? Steal from your teammates? Wow. We put no effort into this mode besides the initials. Amazing. Alrighty, Terran versus Protoss. It's happening. Archon mode. 4 players a team. A 1v1 match. Yoked up and ready and good to go. Let's see when our IT is ready. And here we go. Terran versus Protoss. Columbia taking the Terran, and Rochester with the Protoss. Not sure if they'll switch off. I know there's a mix between them. Obviously, nothing's perfect on the team is a Zerg player, but that doesn't mean you can't micro Reaper some Hellions, let's be honest. All right, the entirety of the team for Columbia University in the blue. No, I feel like I already did the whole. We have Max Cheems, Nothing's Perfect, and Yoked Baller. Joined in the top right by Rochester Institute of Technology, Bongo, Dawnseeker, Cybertron, and Bomek. Giving us Max and Bong +3. Always the interesting choice to abbreviate. Going for the Reaper Wall. It'll be interesting to see. Can bring up each camera. Which player is delegated to what? That's part of the struggle. You're still playing 1v1. What is going on with those hotkeys? Oh my. Does he have steel keys? He very well may. Well, I see. Yes. They figured out, this was the important thing after watching the matches yesterday. How can we combine our APMs to look like we're actually one of those AI scripts? And then... So, Rochester Institute Technology clocking in at 12,000 actions per minute. Are those actions just holding down 2 keys with 4 players doing it? You can't prove that. I'll hold down 4 keys now. 30,000. Let's see if they can keep it up. Meanwhile, the micro. Everybody focusing on their spam. We made it to 40,000. Unfortunately, not a single one of those APMs was used to keep the probe alive. So, you know, who's the real winners here? Adept being chrono boosted. Who's got control of the Reaper? We have Max. Wait, no, Max is just watching it. It is Nothing's Perfect. The Zerg player from earlier will be delegated, but the citizen's arrest, and that should be enough to be taken out. Oh no! 1 HP. The Reaper barely survives. And it will heal. And that'll be a continuing issue. This does look like a wall. I believe they managed it. Robo-Bay is quite a move to start things off. And the Reaper gets in, but will it be getting out in time? Actually tries to get off to the side, but wait! Knocked out. Adept takes it down. And now we have Dawnseeker microing his single Adept. Will successfully escape from the base. Though it does seem like there are some conflicting orders being issued with someone else on the field. Is this a Ruptor drop to start? Quite a use of potential APM, which has already plummeted to slightly more manageable levels. Colossus drop. Even more unhinged. Another barracks on the way. Banshee with cloak. Cyclone in production. Alien? Oh, the dance. That is their only job. So, technically a Hellion can get shots off without the Adept hitting it, but only very technically. It's practically impossible. Cyclone nodding its head. Gravitic drive is complete. Warp prism speed. The Cyclone gonna hunt down the Adept. We saw definitely some conflict. Whenever you see something freaking out, not patrolling, but freaking out, that's 2 players trying to issue commands and the unit trying to respond to both of them. So, always interesting to see what happens when the panic kicks in. But the Colossus, 2 SCVs incinerated. There is no direct answer here. The Cyclone would be the best one. Some Marines on the high ground. Shield stripped away. The Banshee technically could dodge Banshee shots as well. Not focused on that. The Cyclone, not quite well, it locks on. The Banshee gonna maintain the vision. But... great micro from the Colossus drop, incinerating a whole bunch of SCVs and keeps everything alive. What do we got on the Colossus drop here? Cybertron is handling the Colossus. I think Bongo's handling the build. Bobek is helping out with it. Oh, Bongo's also microing. It looks like Bobek is actually handling the build. Meanwhile, the Colossus is in the main. There's no Viking to deal with this directly, but the Cyclone will be able to lock on. Is there a scan ready? They didn't coordinate it in time, and great micro, and the Colossus drop racks up some more kills. Honestly, doing a great job keeping things busy. And back at home, there's an observer. A hallucinated Phoenix. The Colossus, now a siege tank, is going to make things more difficult. But the Banshee racks up 0 kills, which is not very many. Another Banshee's on the way. Adept's being sent out. And, well, quite chill from Columbia. Rochester doing a great job of delegating so far. And the build coming together. They got 64 workers to 49. A Adept. He's microing the Adept shade on cooldown in order to be a scout. What a play. But I think, ooh, the Colossus drop is about to have a really rough day. As the Warp Prism, he gets the Colossus out. Might be able to kill another SCV or two. No! Obliterated with great prejudice. Finally, gets its comeuppance there and is knocked down. I love the mini-map, which is trying to register everyone's mini-map camera. So... See... And it seems like they're fighting over it. They kind of are, but... The Banshees? Who's got the Banshees? It is nothing's perfect. The Zerg player handling the micro for the Terrans, which probably the best usage there. Actually just decides to duel with one of the Stalkers. Who's doing the main build? Max is just watching the Banshees. Is Max like the commander? Well, nothing's perfect is definitely controlling them. Max is just watching. Alright, he likes to watch. He might be the commander, just telling everyone what to do. Which is a real role that we worked out in Archon mode for the 2 weeks that people actually played it. Honestly, Archon mode is great for coaching, because you can be in the game and potentially control individual things, but without actually controlling the entire base or just telling them. You can show occasionally, but even I forget about it in the occasional coaching we do. I gotta remember, this might remind me. So you know what? That's a real benefit there.
Ready for dust off.
The closest Archon game by far out of any of these matches. As both sides, 3 versus 4 bases. Now, the hardest part for Terran is usually, for mortal Terrans, for non-Clem and Maru Terrans, is dealing with the death ball. Is microing your bio, and your Vikings, and your medevacs, and if you have any ghosts, and doing all that, and not losing all of it immediately as the fight starts. And if you can do that, well, the army does look pretty strong against Protoss. So, the question is, are they up to the task of figuring out how to manage that without everything flinging apart as they go their separate ways? Meanwhile, Rochester with 5 Nexi, 8 gates, maybe a little on the light side, getting Psionic Storm now as well. And, well, we'll see how they're going to delegate. Bongo with the build.
Probes are under attack.
Cybertron scouting with a group. He also has a group of, I assume, defense stalkers. Hotkeyed.
Under attack.
Bobek is handling the Nexi. Maybe some Warpins. And Dawnseeker has no hotkeys, but is microing individual units. Meanwhile, Max has a Vikings hotkeyed and nothing else. Cheems is doing a lot of the build here. Yoked Baller has a few Marines, is what they trusted him with. And nothing's perfect. Is actually, no, he's just watching. Interesting, they have some players like spectating during some of these fights. Just because they're on the team doesn't mean they always get units as their responsibility. And just trying to figure out jobs for 4 different people is sometimes more difficult than having 1 or 2 handle it. Maybe they're delegating based on the location on the map. Would be an interesting way to do it. Dark Shrine on the way. Quite an army. A single Marine! But even 1 Marine can be deadly. The probes! The micro! Citizens arrest. Charge lots. The army itself on the high ground. Where are those Vikings? Cheebs! Is called in. Multiple Colossi. No ghosts. Charge lot zoned out. Moving up with the army. And a whole bunch of siege tanks. The Vikings finding an angle. So many siege tanks. Hallucinates Immortals mid-fight. The siege tanks just smashing one of the Colossi. And the Vikings might be able to drop down. Still a bunch of bio back at home. And just going to be tearing through absolutely everything left over here. The planetary fortress will complete. And a bit haphazard, but eventually effective defense. Columbia will hold. A bit of a slow warping. We got some Templar, and soon to be both varieties added in. Another prism. Speed prisms. Remember how this started a while back. Ghosts on the way as we go to the late game. And remember, the series is all tied up. So, a lot is riding on this match. And after this, I believe, is a team best of 3. Where we're going to split them out into their own groups. But it is a best of 5 overall in series. And right now, it's tied up 1-1. War Prism, but it's not going to happen. Multiple missile turrets in position. Single Cyclone still alive. Who's handling that? Nothing's perfect. Has a Cyclone and a few Marines. Yoked Baller has 1 Marine. I don't know. He may just be AFK. He's just watching. All right. Let the boy watch. And now that was also the issue with Archon mode, was if your teammate is significantly lower skill than you, it is actively hurtful to have them control units because you're just going to be better. Like, they can't contribute like a team game. They can only hurt you. EMP is pretty good. Vikings. Storm on the Vikings, though. Good return fire. 1 Colossus. Just needs 1 Viking to knock it down. Both sides taking horrible, terrible, no good damage. But I do think Rochester got the better end of that exchange by a bit. A whole bunch of money in the bank now. 3,000 minerals, 2,000 minerals for the Tigers. The Lions, oh my. Not nearly as much, but building multiple command centers. The more Maru-style Turtle Terran. There are 4 Stargates as Stargate Command comes together right in the middle of everything. And so far, neither side able to land a critical blow. The Protoss do have the economic advantage. They're working towards the late game tech, but that doesn't necessarily mean it'll translate into a game-winning proposition. Meanwhile, the Warp Prism finally found an angle. Charge lots come out. Vikings respond. That 1 Colossus still standing tall. EMPs, but the ghosts are abandoned. That 1 Colossus makes this a lot more complicated. I mean, it's not that complicated. That's not nearly enough Marines and Marauders to fight this. The Vikings are coming up. The Marauders are abandoned. The Vikings may snipe off the Colossus. They knock it out. And it could have been worse. A single Zealot, 9 SCVs dead. Down to 62, but not too terrible in the grand scheme of things. A fleet beacon is on the way, and with the 4 Stargates, it's not too surprising to see. Carriers or Tempests could both be a strong option. Obviously, the map is looking a little more orange than it is blue right now, but that is not unique to this game. It's not a pretty typical scenario in Terran versus Protoss late game. But the banks as well. It's going to... Columbia is going to need to be a lot more cost-effective than they have been. It's about even so far, but it needs to be better than that when you have 2 or 3 less bases. But here, blinks forward. The Viking fleet. And honestly, having a dozen Vikings is kind of a good deterrent to going for the mass capital ship style. A few Zealots. There's still enough bio back at home. Ooh. Siege tanks kind of jamming themselves down the center. And 78 probes. There's smatterings of army throughout the field. A few Zealots. Warp Prism counterattack. Army on the right side. A few cannons. The Protoss army in an awkward spot, and unfortunately the Colossus gets caught. Planetary Fortress, here we go! Seems like a base trade of sorts. You know, the bunker holding back at home. Who will pull back to defend, if any? The siege tanks on the high ground. The bio struggling through. There's not enough energy for Storm on this side. The Blink Stalkers are in the main base. There's still a siege tank there. An attack on 2 of the next side. Bio pulling back on some fronts. Vikings on the way back home as well. SCVs pulled off the line. The production is under fire, and that's kind of the most important part here. Dark Templar being warped in. But it seems like the discussion on how to deal with everything back at home might be the critical one. The DTs on top of the army, eviscerating the bio. The siege tanks will be dismantled. And it's a disaster for Columbia. Finally, the Vikings come back home to defend. But the deliberation on that process, I think, was a critical blow. And now, Rochester, they still have money in the bank. They're literally 200 supply to 100. The damage has been done. Over 3 minutes of fighting. And even though Columbia destroyed more, they don't have enough to replace it with. The last siege tank is hunted down. Putting together more bases, even some of the units. Everybody's been very diligent not to use the select all army hotkey, it seems. So, credit there. The Dark Templar do have blink as well. And attacks on either side. Tempest in production, and the only reason there aren't more is because already maxed out. Columbia's gonna make a game of it. Technically, they're mining off of 3 or 4 bases, so given enough time, they're about even on income. The Colossi go forward. The Storms knocks down 1. There's so much Storm, and there's no ghosts here. Good micro on the Vikings, but there's only so much to be done. The Planetary Fortress fires off a volley of disruptors. It's an uphill battle in many literal senses as well. That counterattack was too much, and it seemed like there should be enough to defend. They just didn't decide how it was going to happen in time. And the communication breakdown, I think, a critical issue. A battle group here. Who's got this one? It's Bongo. Slamming the Bongo down. Dropping the storms. Ready to fire the disruptors. Tempest shelling down the center. DT's blinking. Double drop makes its way to the top left corner. Few more warp-ins, but multiple bases. The Protoss are closing in. And it looks like the Tigers will defeat the Lions in game 1. GG! As we exchange it. We do have to wait till all 4 players leave. that spam even carrying over. So instead of being 20,000, eventually dropped down to just 2,700. But still. Make sure we got our SC2 replay stats. I don't know if it may not have registered the Archon game. I don't know if it's set up for it because there's literally dozens of Archon games played per season. So there's a 4 people control. It doesn't look like the high APM of a GM 1v1. So like imagine playing piano. But now you have to rely on someone else to play the other parts. And maybe you play a simpler part, but it's still going to be weird. Or maybe you don't play piano. You play, I don't know, accordion or something else that has a keyboard. But some of these players aren't playing the same race that they played most of their games on. And they might have to completely change their control scheme. And they might not like the people they're playing with. I'm just saying that's about... Which combines to create a difficult scenario. Now, it does seem like they adapted eventually. And that's part of why Archon mode never took off, in my not so humble opinion, is it just made 1v1 more stressful by making it a team game without any of the fun parts. Very intense. Very cool to watch, but even the pros didn't like it. Like, they're like, I didn't sign up to play. I'd be playing League of Legends and making way more money. Like, they probably also are playing League of Legends. Well, at least the Koreans. I don't know. Apparently everybody just decided to take a breather after that one, instead of letting us know what the next map was. So, how's everybody doing? Plenty of time to like and subscribe as we enjoy the live experience of tournaments. Which is certainly a different vibe to what you might usually get. And it gives you that visceral feeling of hurry up and wait that everyone loves. And is not the reason that I don't cast live. Mostly because I'd rather just focus on specific series most of the time. But the reason we're casting the Collegiate National Finals is because it's really cool that they're organizing it. And I'd love to encourage any amount of players under the age of, well, anyone who is not described as a millennial or older. It's like... Is Cyril Gen Z? I don't... Technically. Barely. I don't know. There is rumors I'm sure those rumors are spelled just as well of StarCraft 3. Ah, yes. I look forward to it. All right, subscribe, tier 3 sub, and I'll let you in on all my insider information on StarCraft 3. Ooh, they're gonna play Zerg. Wild. Up against Terran. Bold move. So, Zerg is a lot. All right. So, is creep spreading a macro or a micro thing? I would love. I am. So we saw Washington, the Huskies, play Zerg against the Wolverines yesterday, and that was one of the most painful experiences. Like, it was pretty impressive to watch one Reaper kill like 12 drones, and for 2 Hellions to kill 9 more. But also, unfortunately, I'm actually going to put a hard statement out there and say that Zerg is just not really an Archon mode. You really need to work at it. Now, here's the real play for Columbia. Just let Nothing's Perfect take the wheel, nobody else do anything, and let him roach all in. I don't. He has not lost a game out of 4 of them in this tournament against Terran, where he roach all in. So there's nothing saying you can't just. It's like if you had Cyril on your team and 4 Gold Leaguers in Archon mode. There's nothing stopping you from saying, like, you guys unplug your keyboards. Like, what's the APM? Oh my god. Yeah, swinging 45, 8,000. Okay, let's see if we can get that experience. So how are they doing that? They're literally just hotkeying different SCVs on different hotkeys and then holding down all the buttons. Because technically an action is selecting a unit, even if you don't do anything with it. So right now we have Cybertron, which, you know, seems appropriate. He has 10 hotkeys and he's just holding it down. That's what's happening. Wait, how did I get both tabs up at once? That was crazy.
Command center upgrade complete.
Wait, if I hold both down at once? See, I can do it too.
The Grim Reaper has arrived.
All right, well. Yeah, that's what's happening. So what's happening is each of those SCVs is getting selected like several dozen times a second. So now, is it doing anything? Literally no. But now here comes the first Reaper. Who's got control of it? Cybertron. The APM has plummeted because now Cybertron, instead of circle jerking his SCVs, is microing the first Reaper. But his one job is to micro this Reaper. But so far, doing a great job of it. Here we go. Heads up to the high ground. Somebody else, I think, has control of the SCV that was blocking the 3rd hatchery. I assume Nothing's Perfect is, yes, he is the macro player. The player handling the build. Handing off the units to his teammates to do with, hopefully, productively. But get off my... Yeah, don't come back. That's not what you meant, Brenda. Can't always get what we want. Sorry. Two racks into... Oh, a 2-1-1. A classic tactic here for Rochester. 2 medevacts and a 16 stim marines, ideally. About as soon as possible. Very hard to deal with, and honestly, one of the best choices. We already saw how good They were with delegating that warp prism and the defense last game. I was quite impressed by... Oh, the Reaper gets taken down. I was quite impressed by how they handled it. Cheems handling the creep. All right. Got it under control. Looks like Yoked Baller has once again been put into the observer role. Or so it seems. His camera is still... he's doing things. We're not gonna... You know, everyone plays their part. Can we check EPM? I actually don't know what the hotkey for EPM is. I probably should. Wait, no, I have it. Because EPM is also not the perfect indicator, but... No, not control. Oh no, I've made a huge mistake already. We'll see if it's a disaster or not. But it didn't work. Okay. It might not work with Archon, I'm not sure. Anyways, the double drop comes out. There are 2 roaches and 18 speedlings, as well as 3 queens. Meanwhile, though, a ling drop, unfortunately pretty hard countered by a marine drop, which was already ready. And the marines in the natural. And, well, things starting to come undone pretty quickly. A Viking, the Marine's gonna knock down the Overlord, dropping into the main. Hard supply blocked. And, chasing down the Queen, picks up again. The medevacs have been mildly inconvenienced. The Ling drop was taken out. Sure, gonna drop out again. There's literally nothing else to be done. And, well... There goes that. It's now 3 bases to 2. There's only so much micro you can put into roaches. Is kind of the issue. So, gonna drop out the Marines. But wait, there's more. Another drop. Might be able to just take out the roaches. And here we are. There we are. The drop on left, drop on the right. Viking hits the deck. And back into the main. They're doing better than the last Archon Zerg. Yeah, but they went for medevacs instead of Hellion Banshee. And I feel like, even though it survived longer, this is still the same scenario of Zerg just falling completely apart because 3 or 4 individually micro medevacs are impossible to deal with 4 people fighting over 6 roaches. Like, though I applaud the effort, I do question the intent. The drop to the main. And the 3rd base is already online. 1/1 upgrades, plus 1 mech weapons on the way. The medevac's just dancing back and forth. Cybertron's got 1 set. Dawnseeker is microing the Viking. Bobek's got the other medevacs. And Bongo is handling the build back at home, I believe. Yeah, Bongo's got the build. He's sending it out. His teammates handling it. And it's all coming together. Now, the Marine count has been whittled down. They could just go back up and pick up some more. The scan, making sure there's no semblance of an economy for the Zerg. 40 drones to 62 SCVs. Oh, a Liberator! There are 3 queens, of which none of them are nearby. He's just gonna siege up the base, and they're gonna use it. Can the queen maybe can hit the Liberator? Just barely, but it can reposition. And, well, here comes the hammer. We were just dancing around before, but I don't think they'll be dancing anymore. 1/1's done. Multiple siege tanks. And, well... honestly, one of the better Zerg showings in Archon mode. Tunneling Claws! And unfortunately, they scanned to clear the creep, and the roaches just kind of happened to be there. Which, a strong attempt, but... hacks. Indeed. No, I'm fully confident they were just clearing creep, and the roaches... also, they may have spotted the burrow move upgrade being done, but... not that it would have mattered. Well, we made it. Did they make it to 10 minutes? I mean... no. So, Rochester and the Tigers will go up 2-1. A decisive victory. Clearly delegating well. And not making the mistake of picking Zerg in Archon mode. And, of course, having 10,000 APM. Very important. So, I'm not surprised. University of Michigan got sparkle hands, trying to move things along. Both, I appreciate that. And two, apparently they have to fly out at the end of the day. So, they're actually in person at University of Washington. And that's why we started earlier today, to make sure we could have the finals and they'd still have enough time to comfortably get to the airport. So, because I doubt they got their pick of the timings on flights, because the school, University of Michigan, which is pretty cool of them, sent them out, so. Hold Alt and spam your number keys. Oh, we know, Dawn Seeker. All right, tell us more about your strategy in 4-gate proxying as well. Like, thank you for cluing everyone in on how to impress your friends. Pro tip, if you have friends, you're probably not spending enough time on the ladder. Place a pylon, place 4 gates. But what do I do with my keyboard hand? Hold the Z key. A grid user? Wait, no. You know Zealot... wait. Oh, I've rebound Zealots. Zealots are the Z key. You're right. Sorry. I use rapid fire Zealots. We're doing 2v2. And if Rochester wins this, they're in the finals. If Columbia wins, I'm not sure what the next game mode is. They willingly pick Zerg. So their best player is a Zerg. Which is, I think that was the thought process. I really think he should have just done a Roach all-in and let everybody else watch. Would have been probably the highest percentage play, but... the main pitfall of Archon mode is feeling like you have to include your team. So, just don't trust any of the rank borders because they don't matter anymore, just FYI. The rank borders are made up and the points... well, the points do matter. But the rank borders are all over the place. It's a mess. All right, here we go. They got all their colors set up. I love it. Appreciate it. I forget what that banner, that Rainer banner is from. I think I have it. I have everything, but putting myself in the team corner. All right, good enough. And here we are. Do or die time for the blue team in the bottom left, the Columbia University Lions. the Terran, we have Cheems. Alongside his teammate, and I believe the team captain, the Protoss and Teal, it's Max. Short, the Pax is silent. Meanwhile, for the Rochester Institute of Technology, the Tigers, we have the Terran. In orange, it's Bobek. Alongside yet another Terran, Cybertron. Match point in series, which means we're going to be playing a best of 3. I'm not sure if they're going to trade out the teams on each match, but a best of 3 of 2v2, as the teams did their best across the board for all the teams to make even matches, because it's all about showing good games for the fans. We're not having Cyril versus Clem out here, but instead, you know, actual fun game. So, if you're watching on the YouTubes, and if you happen to be one of the few dozen people who isn't actively participating in this tournament, who are still in school, well, you can use the bracket command and follow it to the Discord, and then maybe ask in the University of Washington Discord about something in the future. As this is the first time we've had more than just a couple schools in a few years. We did some years ago, before COVID, had an event with 6 or 7, I believe it was. But it's been a while, and it's cool to see. Sure, it might not be the highest level, but it's great to see any schools putting the teams together. It's cool that University of Washington had University of Michigan in person, as well. So, I want to encourage that and continue to show good games for the fans. And it's very cool to add some of these other modes. 2v2, definitely underutilized in general. All team games, really. But, I mean, Thermal doing his part to create a little more content opportunity. I gotta appreciate that. So yes, if you have an interest in something like this for your school or your organization, I'm open to the idea. Just in case, because I saw some people claiming it, I'm only getting paid in likes and subscribes, alright? I'll let you know if I'm getting paid. Unless they pay me enough to not say that, which is mostly illegal. But as a former not-so-graduate of University of Michigan, it has a fond place in my heart, because at University of Michigan, I skipped many of my classes because I played StarCraft too late. / too early. But, you know, I think it's important to be able to balance your time. I would know from the lack thereof. I don't know. But there's worse addictions to have, certainly. That's just 3 Marauders. This Marine staring down the rocks. Then what? I mean, you can't just attack with 3 Marauders. Well, here he is. Stop right there, criminal scum. The force field is on point for Max. The attacks are coming together, though. There are expansions back at home for Rochester. The Sentry, not enough energy for another force field. Breaking down the walls here. Siege tank is on the way. The Marauders are just breaking through. Might want to consider lowering the depot and letting the Zealots through. Unfortunately, that force field does nothing to stop them from hitting all of this. The bunker, the medevac is knocked out of the sky. There's a siege tank here because he proxied a casual factory. And this is becoming a lot more difficult to deal with. The Tigers are breaking in. And the Lions are struggling to deal with it. Max does have the expansion behind. He has a lot of Zealots. That siege tank doing a lot of damage. And Cheems has suffered some heavy hits. But Max is still going pretty strong. Does he have charge? Yes. And we're all wondering when Max will charge into action. And we're gonna continue wondering, it seems. He's getting 4 more gates. With that, like 7 to 8 gates. which I guess he has 2 bases. No, that's 9 or 10. You know what? Better to have too many than too few. And the Terrans are driven back. What are you doing? No! Clicks his own SCV. Bloodthirsty. Oh, there's still a tank. Ah, the charge lot's trying to get in on the action. A little bit late. A bit cowardly there, to be honest. The rally points are all over the place. The Zealots will be sliced down. Max holding it together. Meanwhile, the abandoning the factory's on its way back home. Its job here, we're gonna call it technically completed. Wasn't a overwhelming success, but certainly wasn't a failure. There's now 19 charge lots, and also Cheems, and 2 siege tanks and a couple Vikings definitely could help. Oh no! Back at home. The hallucinated Phoenix. The tanks aren't sieged. The tanks aren't sieged. If he goes now, nobody has their tank sieged. And they don't know about this. What they don't know could definitely hurt them. Everybody, and now we're fighting. Hallucinates an Archon. The tanks for both sides on siege. Anti-armor missile will help a bit, but not so much. And the siege tanks on the Cheems. The counterattack is devastating. And Max leads the charge with the charge lots. Just bashes through. And Vikings allowing the siege. There's a ghost. Okay. There's also a ghost here. The door will be torn down. Uses the depot drop. Another siege tank. Really struggling. And the charge lots will file through. And I think Columbia will cut their way through to a counterattack victory in game number 1. Max holding his charge lots in reserve for long enough. Keeping the numbers high. And now achieving victory. Cheems and Max will win game number 1. What a turnaround. It looks so dicey. He just kind of let Cheems take all of the hits. But Max knew that Cheems could take it. All right, we don't ask how he knew, but he knew. Catching the army out, a stroke of luck, but one they desperately needed. Columbia still in the running. Are we doing 4v4? Wait. Did that count as full series? Not sure how we're counting it. We had twice as many players. Team games are best of 1. Oh. Tiebreaker. The Archon is technically not a team. So it doesn't take too long. Fair enough. So we're all tied. We're going to match point. And that means it will be decided by a 4 versus 4. Not Archon, but instead a good old-fashioned team game cluster showdown. I will pick the map. All right. You know what really drew me to this one? Completely devoid of any description whatsoever. And also, I think it's the largest team game map. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a long game. I just think it might get more interesting that way. All right. Did we overestimate our player count? What is our color scheme? I mean, technically you can play 3v3 on a 4-player map, but... how could we forget about Yoked Baller? And Bongo. All right. Let me see. Wait, let me consult my color wheel here. Yeah, they have... Oh, it's black and orange. All right. Okay. We're all good. We're just gonna go down the line on the skins here. Get a little bit of everything. It's gonna be a mess. But if they're all different skins, it's easier to tell what they look like. I mean, like, tell them apart as well. All right. Cyber, we'll call that ready. Here we go. The grand finals of the semifinals. Match point. The winner of this moves on to face the University of Michigan, who has been tearing through everyone. Somewhat puns intended. I believe they have 3 or 4 out of 5 Terrans. And that'll be the grand finals of the spring/winter semester of 2026 Collegiate National Finals. But let's introduce, potentially for the last time. You see, this is why it doesn't even show up on the minimap. For the Rochester Institute of Technology Tigers, we have Cybertron, Bobek, Dawnseeker, and Bongo. And opposite them, the Columbia University Lions, it's Max. Nothing's perfect, Yoked Baller, and James. So 2 Zergs and a Terran Protoss up against double Terran, double Protoss. So quite a spread. I don't know if it's good or bad, but both Zergs, the creep is touching, which is probably good because otherwise there's a chance the creep would actively block their teammates from building in certain locations. So that is always a bit of an uncomfortable sort of scenario. So far, I feel like Rochester has had a better grasp over all what is going on with that graphical glitch. It's wild. We can just put this down here. There you go. Nailed it. You know what? How about this? Ta-da. We've got a lot of orbital commands, a lot of Reapers on the way. 4v4, if you're not just doing a 4-pronged all-in, which I don't see anyone doing, is just chaos. There are some generic trends, like whoever gets the most battle cruisers eventually wins. But the best way to stop them from getting battle cruisers is usually just build a bunch of Void Rays or something before. Already some more aggressive intentions. One SCV being chastised by its fellow counterpart. Unfortunately, Cheems. First blood! Oh god, the unit's lost. The unit's lost Ledger. Oh, we'll be filling it up pretty quick, I think. Bongo with a decidedly forward Stargate. Meanwhile, a Reaper will delay the base out of Cheems. There's also a probe here. And so a lot of the team game maps were designed before we slightly increased the creep spread of hatcheries, which is another reason why Zerg can be inconvenient as compensation for some other things. The creep spread of hatcheries themselves is slightly larger, which, for example, it could keep you from walling off, which is super annoying. Now, speaking of not walling off, it wasn't the creep that was the issue. It was just an architectural deficiency here. Adept gets in from Bongo. Oracle's sliding along. Meanwhile, Zergling counterattack. Good old-fashioned Zerg rush. Gonna get a lot of damage done, but the Oracle's gonna come in, take out some of the drones. Take some damage from the Queen. Meanwhile, Zerglings are in the main. Bongo's doing damage to the drones, but at the same time, he's lost almost every single one of his probes. Oh, it's a disaster. That's a lot of damage. The Zerglings. Bongo's down to 21 supply. Now, Yoked Baller, I mean, coming in clutch here. Despite the struggles in his own 1v1 match, eviscerating Bongo, who's one of the top players for Rochester. A rough start, and clearly distracted on the other side of the map. A few more Zerglings coming in. One of the Oracles came back home to defend, building more. There's a Void Ray in production, so both Protoss going for air. Meanwhile, nothing's perfect. The strongest player for Columbia is up to 50 supplies. He's got a third hatch on the way, but the Oracles... Bongo strikes back. And how many Moracles will he build? Quite a deplorable opener so far. Not being rhetorical. A fleet beacon, of course there is on the way. Meanwhile, 12 roaches for nothing's perfect. Looking to get a bit more aggressive. Oracles coming in. A single stalker in the mineral line won't be much of a deterrent. Thankfully, the Oracles are nearly out of energy, which is really the only thing limiting all this damage. Single medevac sent out. Couple more Oracles on their way in. And, well, continuing to find damage here. Bongo has redeemed himself somewhat. It doesn't take much economy to increment out one Oracle at a time. Hunts down a few more. A single Stalker, it's not enough to actually stop this from happening. Meanwhile, in the midfield, a few charge lots is Max. Relying on the trusty charge lots once again, and they haven't failed him so far. Gonna chase down the Cyclones and some of the Marines out in front. Marine drop out of Bobek. Deflected by the Stalkers for now, but the Roaches are knocking on the door. The drops will slip right past. A single Void Ray, but the Marines, does he have Stim? Yes. Is he gonna use it? Also, yes. Knocks the Void Ray out of the sky. The Roaches and Ravagers overrunning the ground. Everyone scrambling back to defend. A couple Cyclones, guns down one. The medevac taking a lot of damage and knocked out of the sky with all hands. All Foracles lit up, but almost all out of energy. So nothing's perfect will eventually be whittled down. A single siege tank. More pilot in. Max gets distracted by the gateways. Siege tanks for both Terrans. Roaches, also a Tempest is here. The roaches on top of the base. Mongo forced to retreat yet again. Max continues to warp, but he's got a warp prism. The siege tank's at point blank range, but he's able to take him down, and now some Widow Mines. Splits off a little bit. Good damage mitigation. The Oracle's just staring intently since they have no more energy to help. Yokballer swings in with the Zerglings to support a Zerg counterpart. The Tempest is giving a deep tissue massage to some of the roaches. One by one, not nearly enough DPS to help out. Siege tanks on the high ground, almost blending in with the map with that ridiculous color there, but you know, it looks pretty sick, to be honest. The Oracles will light up yet again. They have a few more seconds of damage, and they're gonna need it. Here comes Max. Here comes Cheebs. Here comes Yokeballer as well, as Columbia is raking through. Nothing's perfect. Continues rallying the roaches across. Roach speed is on the way. But the defenses are broken. The expansions are being ripped apart. The wall is challenged on the high ground, and one base is not going to be enough to deal with this. Dropping on top of the siege tank, another one comes out, but they just couldn't put together the defenses in time. And the single siege tank, Baller with the Zerglings doing his part. Gonna take out another Nexus, a single Tempest, 2 more added on, but it was just too much too early. And it's looking impossible. The bleeding is everywhere. Max finds his way in with a warp prism. And there's just not enough. They just don't have boots on the ground. Air control is all well and good, but it never really solved anything. You need to be able to back it up. The Yokeballer running in the now wide open bases. And, well, Mongo has not rebuilt his base and is being revealed, which is not the ideal scenario. Well, better. But his probes are getting slaughtered by a Zealot with 9 kills. The Roaches and Lings are still in the base, and GG! The Tigers will fall, and the Lions will move on to face the Wolverines. A chaotic. That was only 9 minutes. But the ledger filled quickly. 2 Protoss, both doing stereotypical Protoss things of trying to rush Skytoss. Suffered from the, well, countered by a ye old strategy of, if they're doing something crazy, just go kill them. Like, and, well, so that leaves us with our finals. The Rochester Institute of Technology versus the University of Michigan. It will be, I believe, a best of 5 as well. Let's see if we filled it in. Narrowed it down to our top 2. GG's to Rochester. Wait, no. It was Columbia. I messed. Sorry. Well, the last shout out. Columbia takes it over Rochester. And they'll be facing the University of Michigan, the reigning champions. Now, they're the reigning champions because the last few matches we had were just University of Michigan versus Michigan State. But still, technically, can they make it, say, like 4 or 5 in a row? Or will Columbia be able to stop them? I do think they have some of the institutional momentum of actually organizing and keeping these matches and the organization going. And I believe a few years ago it was handed off from the original creator. Columbia plus... Oh, yes. So Columbia being supplemented by the University of California, San Diego. Because of scheduling conflicts. And I don't know if they knew it was 2 days, but... We'll just say everyone versus Michigan. I'm not sure which players are actually on UC. We're just figuring out maps. All right. Actually, I had an important question, though, for the people. Who had the best name so far? USCSD, is everyone said nothing's perfect? A bit of it awkward, but... We are doing an Archon merge. Yes, we're Archon merging the schools themselves. Which is convenient because, UCSD, San Diego, is also blue. It's time, though. So, here we go again. Is he ready? Welcome back to the highest level, Collegiate StarCraft 2. With the top 2 teams that we've been able to put together. The University of Michigan faces off against the Archon merge of the University of California, San Diego, and Columbia University to field a full team. The University of Michigan has technically been the reigning champions for at least 3 events in a row over the last several years. But over the course of this best of 5, and correct me if it's not a best of 5, but I believe it's a best of 5. We'll see if they will be usurped by another school, or if their reign of terror continues. With our first player. And of course, well, before we get started, it'd be awesome if you could like, subscribe. And if you happen to be a participant in one of these schools or your own, you want to check it out, well, you can use the bracket command if you're watching live or fun in the description, and potentially contact University of Washington, or, you know, reach out to me and I can maybe put you in touch. So, but thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. Hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. But our first grand finalist for the University of Michigan Wolverines. In the maze, in the yellow. In the top right, the Terran. It's 2-5 boy. And from Columbia University, their top tier player, the Zerg in the blue. It's nothing's perfect. All right. So, Nothing's Perfect has played 2 Terrans in a row. He's done a Roach Rush against 2 Terrans in a row. He's won with a Roach Rush against 2 Terrans in a row. In both best of 3s. So, is the third time still a charm? Or will the Terrans figure out a way to strike back? If 2-5 Boy was paying anything resembling attention, or if any of his teammates were, they should hopefully have prepared him for the possibility, the probability, that this exact build, which has looked not unstoppable, but difficult to respond to, is a likelihood. But with no SCV scout, well, it's going to make it a little bit more complicated to start things off. As the Reaper's going to be caught on the other side of the map. And here come the Zerglings. The Reaper gets into the main and does not see the Roach for it. There are Roaches on the way. Command Center is delayed. The SCVs will be pulled to try to protect it. And here we go. Nothing's Perfect has found a lot of success with his, literally just 4 Roaches. Oh, no. Oh. Demonstrating the power of taking the initiative. That's 2 SCVs. If he can finish the command center, which it looks like he just barely will, that's something. Unfortunately, there's currently 1 Reaper against 4 Roaches and 1 Ravager, which, I can't believe he did the same build he's done for 4 games in a row. Absolutely crazy. Wild. Seemingly unstoppable. But every Terran on autopilot and every Terran ending up... I think this was the quickest one so far. Is it a bit... They save all their learning for school, all right? Well, the beauty of it is it's exactly, it wasn't changed, it wasn't hidden. It was exactly the same build. But, well, and exactly the same outcome. Showing the effectiveness of a strong build order to start things off, as opposed to a more nebulous sort of expansion strategy. Oh, he definitely can keep getting away with it. If the Terrans, of which there have been several, refuse actively to consider the possibility, well... Now, at risk of editorializing and sounding a little presumptuous, I did expect him to, like, have an idea that could be coming and have some basic preparation. Because 2 days in a row he's done that build against Terrans. Unfortunately, you know what? You're allowed to watch other people's games. All right? What? Let's hope. Oh, smart move. Don't know how much it'll help, but it will now be the a 3-player map. So... Now, that doesn't necessarily make it easier to defend. In fact, eventually, by the time the roaches come out, assuming he wants to go that direction, we've also seen in one of the games a slightly later roach all-in. It was like, instead of 12, like 16 drones, more like 25. We'll see if he pulls out that more nuanced build or he sticks with the classics. Nothing's perfect, really representing. Undefeated, I believe, so far. I don't know. Besides the Archon mode games, which... bit of a mixed bag. Pull first. I fear not the man who has practiced 1,000 macro builds, but the man who has practiced one cheese 1,000 times. It's a lot easier to get those cheeses in. That is the other macro games as well. SCV Scout. Unfortunately for 2-5 boy, it's going the wrong direction. Which, obviously you can't know that. He will, momentarily. But... let's see if the scout comes out in time. And if it ain't broke. There it is. The 4 Zerglings, the Roach Warren. Well, he scouted where the Zerg isn't. And a second barracks on the way. Nothing's perfect. Adjust the Zerglings. The Overlord gets there in time for him to narrow it down. A reactor is the choice. The Reaper, unfortunately, is going to be halfway across the map by the time the Zerglings come in. There's no Marine to slow this down. So... the Reaper will turn around, which I think is the right call. 5 roaches. He's got a grand total of 17 drones. Make no mistake, you do need to do a lot of damage here. But, well, a bunker on the low ground would certainly be helpful. Gonna work on that SCV. And actually doesn't get either. And that might be enough time to finish the bunker. It's gonna be close. And the bunker isn't the be-all, end-all, but it certainly makes it a lot easier. It's gonna be very close. The first roach is coming up. I think it finishes, especially with a slight delay to build a Ravager. Of course, without the SCVs on the low ground, it can be broken. But a bit of a sandbag here. Could potentially siege. He's just going to go right for it. Corrosive Bile. A bit of repair. Again. Well, more SCVs pulled. Is it enough? No! The boys are pulled. Corrosive Bile lands. Hits one of the Marines. The command center will finish. And, well, that Corrosive Bile knocks out a couple more SCVs. The Ravager, good micro. Might be able to get the Reaper. Don't know if he can get the Marines, but... well, he held. Was it perfect? Not exactly, but... he's not dead. Which is certainly... and now we'll see if he, was paying attention to any of the follow-up games, where... Mutas is eventually and pretty directly the choice. Though with a reactor on the way... and potentially medevacs and stim. 16 stim Marines and a couple medevacs are quite a threat to someone who has a grand total of 1 Ravager and 2 Queens. So. Honestly, 2-5 boy shaping up with quite a solid timing here. He's not supply blocked. He's got the gas. He has the Marine count. This is the best shot to deal with it directly that I think anyone's had thus far. A few more roaches on the way, knowing that one Ravager is not enough. Believe it or not. There's the Spire. Nothing's perfect. Sneaking out mostly. More drones, though. The SCV's incremented out. And enough Marines to pretty much fill up 2 medevacs. Flies right by. Lets the Overlord know. Very sporting of him. So, another Overlord into the main, but, well, he already kind of knows. The medevacs. How far will they go before dropping out? Because you get too greedy and you lose a lot of the initiative, but he's going to go right towards the 3rd. The Marines already doing a lot of damage, and taking out the 3rd would be pretty huge. Corrosive Bile. Microing forward, trying to chase down the Ravagers. More roaches on the way. Hatchery's targeted down. And 2-5 boy strikes a significant blow. The Spire is done, but a supply block means no mutas in production. Engineering Bay just started, but there should be enough Marines. He doesn't have Combat Shield in production either. But, well, the question is how badly the mutas are able to punish these medevacs. Or, well, as if he just loses both medevacs with no more damage, then the mutas regain map control. And things get quite difficult from there. Target fire. Gets the Ravager as well. The mutas will be revealed at probably about the best timing you could hope for, which is well before they get to his base, and not even enough of them to deal with the medevacs. The engineering bay is done. Missile turrets on the way. The supply's about even, and the worker counts are drawing pretty close as well. There are 6 mutas, so clearly not intending on a mass muta strategy, but instead just opting for enough to try to take control of the situation. The turret will finish with literally a quarter second to spare. But now the mutas just flap their way through to anywhere the turret isn't. 2-5 boy just gonna ignore some of this and go forward. And we'll see. More roaches on the way, realizing that, well, the best defense is probably a good offense. A siege tank getting chased down, another missile turret attempted. Can go for the depots. The mutas are headed back home. Couple Ravagers on the way. Some real potential here. The siege tanks just goes forward. Siege is up, but gets right on top of everything. Just stutter stepping through, and the mutas are scrambling back home to defend. But there's only one more Ravager. Fires off the corrosive belt, does about as much damage as it ever could. But Terran through the front lines, and nothing's perfect. Well, honestly, the Ravagers did about as much as you could ever dream of. There's a whole bunch of roaches in production, but Combat Shield is about to finish. 1-1 is still pretty far off. The reinforcements, the rally point between the 3rd and the natural is cut off by the siege tanks. The drones are pulled, and, well, the Marines gun down the Mutalisks. They work on the drones. And even with these Ravagers helping to hold the line, reinforcements are just rallied across the map. And I don't think it's going to be enough. 2-5 boy manages to hold it together and turn it around. Well, if he over micros, there's a chance that the roach count gets high enough that the count... Okay, well, he turned it around, but he didn't lock it down. And suddenly, we have to think, well, where do we go from here? Couple more racks on the way, a third command center. The drone count dwindled dramatically, but it's 1-1 versus 0-0. And those upgrades, those armor upgrades, especially against the Marines, are a huge deal. And there's a chance we go into a base trade here, which seems optimistic.
Mineral field depleted.
For both sides. Yep. Okay, wait a second. The drops are coming back home, which... thankfully for 2-5 boy. Using a little bit more time, but he's just breaking through. Here we go. The Marines, the Ravager, the Corrosive Bile. And, okay, we're doing a full base trade then, eh? As this game, far from over. The door is wide open and the Roaches and Ravagers will get in. As... oh no, it's a disaster. Navigating the narrow path to such a precarious situation. 2-5 boy gunning down dozens of drones, but he's going to lose pretty much every single SCV. So, we may be in a literal how many buildings do you have left scenario.
New subscriber detected.
Right now, the army... yeah, the Roaches are gonna sneak a few more kills out. I don't think there are gonna be enough Marines left over to actually kill the Roach Ravager on the field. So it's a full-on base trade. There's a non-zero chance this game can end in a draw, though there is a Spire right there. He has enough money for mutas. There's a little bit of mining, which is a huge deal. The spawning pool will be targeted. And, well, nothing's perfect is going to send back some more units. The Spire will be targeted, as he realizes that could be a priority. The medevacs are pretty much out of energy. The Marines are struggling here. And every Marine is precious. Time is of the essence, and he's running out of it. Oh my. Gets the Spire. The Roaches are here. There's still 11 drones, which is 11 times the economy of the Terran. And I do think 2-5 boy so close to victory. But unfortunately, I think Nothing's Perfect has dragged him down and beat him with experience. He couldn't help himself. Much like most Diamond Terrans, sending out drops with random amounts of Marines at random times is like a nervous tick, as opposed to a directed strategy. So, unfortunately, it does seem to have been both a blessing and a curse. But Nothing's Perfect really working for this one. There's still the... No, he's rebuilding a Spire. And one Muta would eliminate most of the chances to turn this around. The 1-1 upgrade's really helping out. Literally 0 minerals for our Terran, though he's dropping mules at the unupgraded base. The Marines, unfortunately, the 1-1 is so good here that... yeah, I think he doesn't even win this fight, so... But quite a game. Literally 0 SCVs, but he does have mules. This command center... ooh, gonna be just taken out with full energy. And the stress is real for 2-5 boy. I think you can tell. And, well, Muta's popping out. This hatchery could be taken down, but to what end? It's been quite a process, but the Mutas may be able to hunt this all down. And finally bring it together. He's got Roaches scouring, like there's got to be a base out there somewhere. Technically, yes. He hasn't spotted the 6 o'clock, where 2-5 boy is building his first SCV. So... And the command center being chased. Coming in again. He's back up to 15 drones. But there's any amount of mutas, which is really the key point here. They'll expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. Nothing's perfect as supply block, but he's supply blocked at 74. So, the orbital command, he might be able to save it. The Marines on the other side, he picks up. Some drones. Oh no. The orbital. He desperately wants to save it. He has like one Marine. Or one SCV. Where's the SCV? He's sending it. No! A day late and $1 short is the story of this entire game for 2-5 boy. It just doesn't get any better. Everything falling apart. Got to go. Sorry, I got prior obligations. We have a flight later. Oh, what a roller coaster that was. As again, nothing's perfect. Able to achieve victory. It was the most difficult process thus far, but the result still the same. With a 22 kill Ravager. The gold match. We're bringing in our Metal League masterpieces. They decided against it. Don't think that's the case. Might have to restart it. Oh, Max is back. Yoked baller. Wait, no. We'll see. We got a rotating cast here. Map's game is bugging out. Typical. Give him a moment. Have we tried turning it on and maybe off again? Are you biased towards Michigan? I'm biased towards good games for the fans. I will say, part of it is watching a third Terran in a row die to the same build in the same way does bring out a little bit of angry coach in me, I will say. But remember, don't worry. It's not about winning or losing. It's about complaining on the internet. So, we're ready. It's time. A yoked baller is back. And here we go. Match 2 of the grand finals of this Collegiate National Showdown. A University of California, San Diego combined with Columbia University to take on the University of Michigan Wolverines. And so far, well, EMAPS has some ground to make up. Introducing for the University of Michigan, it's EMAPS. In the yellow, the Protoss. Up against, in the blue, we have a yoked baller. Or Zerg. We've already seen some ZVP today on this very map where he got proxy 4-gated. We'll see if that trauma carries over into this one. It was clearly a stressful experience for him based on the follow-up scouting, but here we are doing a 15 extractor trick hatchery. A curious build. Does leave you with quite a bad economy. Oh, we're gonna do some more extractor tricks. Eventually we'll make it Overlord, I bet. But not this day, because we can make another spawning pool, and then do another extractor trick. Or maybe just build an extractor, how about that? Do an extractor trick, give me the other one! Come on! And there's the Overlord. How long can he go without building an Overlord? Apparently that long. So, not the most efficient Zerg build, but it certainly gets all your buildings out there early. The probe will scout, and back at home, EMAPS. Nexus. Doesn't see anything too untoward. That is quite a quick spawning pool, but there was the hatch first as well, so a bit of everything mixed in. And a very hero-inspired wall-off, yeah, that. Eventually, it may be something resembling a wall. We'll have to see. Stay tuned. Probe waiting for its moment. Yoked baller, several Zerglings, continuing to build them. Ye old Zerg rush is a tried and true strategy. A robotics facility. Back at home for EMAPS. That probe being in position to potentially scout this may be the saving grace. Adept is on the way. He's just building a bunch of Zerglings, which could very well get it done. Alright. Now, the reason why so many Zerg players are able to get to a certain level is because Terran and Protoss don't learn to wall off. But once they do, that's when the Zerg hit one. We'll see if EMAPS, that probe, has a lot on its hands here. Did he see the probe? Oh, well, that's going to give it away. The panic button. Let's go. You need to build a wall. Is he going to leave the Adept outside? All right, tucks it in. We're going to need a little more commitment than that. We're going to need a lot of more commitment than that. That is, okay, well. We'll see. There's a few dozen Zerglings sprinting across the map. One Adept. I mean, oh, well. A gateway. That's more like it. See, the second Adept comes out. He comes up with a gateway in time. Unfortunately, Yoked Baller, I don't think is... Well, all right. Another gate. He's holding. This gate has a lot of surface area on it. Really trying to jam his way through here. That pylon powers everything, though. Oh, no. Does he know how to reshield the pylon? We're going to find out. That pylon will depower the entire defense! Though it's still all funneled into a single Adept, which is pretty well done. And the shield battery back in time! What? Why are you GGing now? What? Does anybody know when to leave the game? Technically, by most tournament rules, he should have left by now, but... Okay. And then he's like, wait a second, I'm not losing. And I truly believe if he hadn't spent time figuring out how to type GG, there's a good chance he could have figured out a defense. But here we are. Ye old Zergling Rush does it again. Quite yoked baller just shoves his way through. And unfortunately, EMAP's unable to navigate a defense in time. Yeah, the GG inspired the continued aggression. I love the GG into immediately realizing, oh wait, maybe not? Honestly, you can kind of tell the level of play, not necessarily by the play itself, but by when players decide it's time to stop. And that was clearly some second thoughts there. Goat baller with... Now, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say quite a strategy. I don't know. No, you gotta play a best of 3. Where'd he go? He's not even in game. Where'd baller go? He's like, no, my work here is done. I'm retiring. Ah. Or maybe he's just not in the chat channel. Maybe he just doesn't chat. Had to get dragged in by his captain. Well, here we are. Here we go. So far, the Zergs finding a lot of success with the designated pressure. The Wolverines cracking under it. Clearly, all the planning and the preparation going out the window the moment a whole bunch of Zergs show up at your front door. Which, you know, is pretty lore accurate as well, so... a difficult scenario. Up 1-0 for San Diego and Colombia. We got Yoked Baller in the blue. Up against EMAPS for the University of Michigan in the top left. We'll see. I truly think if he hadn't typed GG, he had a very good chance to not outright die there. But clearly, he did not share that opinion. Just in case... think it's a learning opportunity. All right, there's the college championships. He was not dead. In fact, he was winning right up until he typed GG. Even if the Zerglings get in, if you have multiple warp gates and you pull probes with your adepts, you clean them up and maybe you lose 5, maybe 10 probes, but you're still actually ahead because they committed everything to a Zergling rush. And honestly, most people below a certain level who Zergling rush, their follow-up is another worse Zergling rush. So... pro tip. Well, maybe not so pro tip, but still, a tip of sorts. That one's free. The probe will eventually find the base. Unfortunately, took the wrong side first. Yoked. No, we're not going with yoked. That's so weird to say. Baller is somehow better, but the Overlord headed the wrong direction as well. But a 3-player map has that effect sometimes. Drone. politely yet firmly asking the probe to leave. The probe is stuck and struggling. He will get a scout. He's jammed up against the corner. Does he pull others? No, he doubles back. But the shields will save him a little bit longer. Several Zerglings on the way. I mean, not too surprising. Well, it would be surprising if we see any more drones in production. Probe loses motivation. The drone does not. Drones. Crazy. The Zerglings will finish it off. Nexus finishes. The robotics facility is done. A shield battery on the way. Is that a single space wall there? Not super confident. Well, what? Is somehow that? No, wide stance. All right. I got tripped up a bit. Everyone kind of jammed in down the center. The Yoked Baller going to try his hand at a third base. That robotics facility is done. Excited to see what it's for. Everybody's got a safety robo. It's like a safety blanket. Not nearly as stressful as building a Stargate and having to control Stargate units, which are all fast and fragile. Unlike Immortals. Or also, alternatively, nothing. The Overlord being annoyed into a pervert pillar here. Ah, I see. 4 gates added on to the 2 already completed. I see what the plan is and was. Likely similar to last game. It's just he never was able to get to this point. A warp prism and 6 gates. Yeah. A strong option. Another very good timing strategy that right now Yoked Baller is completely and utterly unprepared for. Absolutely. He has a grand total of 5 Zerglings and 4 Queens. Lair's going to complete. He's spamming drones. The Overlord may have spotted some of these units move out, but I'm not sure. He's building more drones. So he may just be dead. It really... There's a lot of scenarios in which he's dead. There's not too many universes where that's not the case. But the Sentry dying to a few Zerglings right off the bat certainly is a point in his favor. A Roach Warren starts. Those are not charge lots, but I don't think they need to be. Six spine crawlers on the way, scattered throughout the bases, which, you know, if they're actually able to finish, may give them a chance to hold the line. 22 Zerglings, a little bit late into the production tab, though. Targeting the spines. Down goes one. Queen's up next. And just walks up. One spine will complete. A whole bunch of roaches, a whole bunch of lings, but staggered out. Trying to get the wraparound here, but another wave of stalkers is coming in. And this is far too much Protoss. The timing is good. Baller, the rally point is unfortunate. And well, here we are. EMAP strikes back with the timing of his own. So now Baller's shown his, EMAPs has shown theirs. Game 3 should be interesting. Yeah, now even seems to come down to the initial aggression. Did he build nothing with the robo? The War Prism was kind of an important part of all of that. In fact, the key part. Waiting to see if we can come up with another map. We didn't think we'd get this far, apparently. Ruby Rock. The decider. Will Michigan come back and tie the overall series 1-1? Or will San Diego and Columbia be able to take a 2-0 lead and put them on match point? Find out more. Like, right now. Sorry, Mix. Off we go. So, they've both executed their relatively strong cheeses. They've both been successful. We head into game 3 with that knowledge weighing upon them. And in the top left, for San Diego and Columbia in the blue, we have Yoked Baller up against University of Michigan's EMAPs in the bottom right. Protoss in yellow. Off we go. Probably the most stressful match of these players' careers. Like careers, they're in like platinum or gold. Well, that doesn't make it any less true. The grand finals. Their team's on the line. And in an evenly matched scenario is the key point. Like if it was Cyril on the other team, then I don't think there's much shame in dropping the games here. But they're both clearly capable of taking home a victory. Probe headed across another very early hatchery, doing the extractor trick into everything else. But this time we got the Overlord before the spawning pool, which is a bit more economical. Probe will spot. It's not a particularly early pool, but there's gas on the way. I mean, you're not going to know if it's a Zergling rush for a while yet. Hopefully before it shows up at your door, but not always. Need to update score. The score is still accurate. That's the overall series score. This is a best of 3. Whoever wins this gets another point in the overall. That's how the Team League setup works. Couple Zerglings. The probe being very diligent about maneuvering around. The drone tagged on it. Gonna spot a few Zerglings coming out. Enough to be of concern, but not enough to do a whole lot of damage. Now, if you're looking close, you'll see no larvae actually being built here. I doubt that's gonna factor in, but one way to tell whether a bunch of Zerglings are potentially coming out. Now, you don't know when the eggs are being built what's in them. But if nothing's being built, you know that. That's pretty easy to narrow down. So, now's the time. What's the decision? 12 Zerglings. And the only reason he's not building more is because of a hard supply block. The wall off is still definitely something resembling one. Personally, not a big fan of pylons in the wall. Feel like they make some weak points that are easily exploited, but Baneling Nest on the way as well. Gonna make it even more dramatic. There is a sentry, a robo on the way. Emap's clearly going for his slightly later game timing. Yoked Baller gonna try to kill him before that. And I do believe that this is all gonna come together for Baller before it comes together for Emaps. He has a moment. The force field. Well, the force field. The force field. Oh. It's hard to choke as a Protoss, but oof. The emotional support field wasn't quite there. And quite a concise yet clear Well, the Zergling rush is successful, and that puts San Diego and Colombia on match point. On team point. I honestly don't know how to call it when we have multiple series and a larger match, so I just keep kind of going back and forth on the description. Well. We got the force field after all, but not exactly what we were looking for. The Zerg rush is successful so far. And that brings us, who's going to save the day? Or what's the plan to do so? I'm not sure if we have another 1v1 or if we're going into Archon. It's Archon. I'm gonna give him a moment to set it up. So, U of M looked very strong in Archon in the previous day. But we'll see. Be right back 1 sec. All right. All right, the teams. At least one from each teams. We're ready to go. Terran versus Protoss. Archon mode. 4 players controlling a single player. We'll see who can hold down their keys enough to reach 30,000 APM. Yes. So since Archon mode is the most forgotten mode, literally it is 4 players. Well, however many players you have. Usually 2, but we're doing 4 because that's the teams. Oh, those are names.
Game paused.
That all can control 1. What is this lineup? So, I'm not sure how many they know, but I'm not sure. So, some players show as masters, but that doesn't mean they're not platinum. Because of the bug that is so prevalent now. Alright. They did say ready, but now unready. Off we go. So, it takes a lot of coordination and delegating, and it's very hard for, well, it's pretty much impossible in my opinion as Zerg, but for Terran and Protoss, a little bit easier to pick out, like, you micro the Oracle, and you micro the Warpins, and you build the probes, or you micro the Reaper, and the Banshees, SCVs. And we will see some of that, I'm sure. Which means you can potentially be doing micro with 3 different players or 4 different players simultaneously on 4 different spots. But it also, if you use the select all army hotkey, there's nothing stopping you from pulling all of the workers off of all of the bases while your teammates desperately try to fight you for control of them. I'm not saying that's what anybody will do, but I'm saying that technically that can happen. We're reorganizing. EMAP's brought in. Over fish. Still missing 1 player. Yoked Baller's back. All right. It's time. I'm gonna wait on Max's call. Go, go. Yeah, and that's also why Archon mode never had a random queue. You always had to play with, like, a preset teammate. Because even if it wasn't malicious, 2 people that didn't have explicit control immediately becomes, like, within 5 seconds can become an issue. All right. The last chance for the University of Michigan Wolverines. Down 2-0 in total matches. In the yellow. I got Sparkle Hands, Jingming, 2-5 Boy, and EMAPs. Up against the combination of Columbia University and University of California, San Diego. In the blue in the top right. It's Nothing's Perfect, Yoked Baller, Cheems, and Max as Terran. The Archon mode begins. No depots to raise and lower. The APMs technically combined, no matter how useful they are. But yes, we already see whoever's camera, where Sparkle Hands sparkling his probes across the control groups in order to... The barracks built right next... A cheeky engineering bay block to start things off. And there will be a cyber core before even attempting a nexus, which means this is not as bad as it could be. Because if you try to build a nexus, get delayed, and then build the cyber core, you're already several seconds behind. Will they just expand to the third? I'm not sure what sort of communication the teams are using. Ideally, you're in voice chat and you don't hate each other, but that's 2 steps, so... It also is an adjustment from playing a 1v1 game, sometimes not talking to anyone, and, you know, having to communicate in any way. First probe. The barracks and a factory at the front, with the probe delaying it by a bit. Adept first. This is a precarious situation for both sides, because at one base, for... I think it's easier to just say Columbia. All right. Columdiago. Everybody's just going to get confused. Technically Columbia, based on the brackets, but contracting somehow. Twilight Council's on the way. Shield battery. Smart choice to mitigate any other potential. The Adept is not going to take out that engineering bay very fast, which is why it's a curious choice to start things off. Sure. Starport. Hellion drop. Not really all in, but just to put on a potentially deadly pressure early. Quite a spicy build. We'll see if it's spotted. The shield battery will be at the third, but there shouldn't be really anything in the main. And the fact that you have to defend 2 separate bases almost entirely is kind of the point of the engineering bay block in the first place. To open up an opportunity, kind of like against Zerg, which Protoss does on a regular basis, to slip in between the bases and kill a bunch of workers. Well, now this is out here. Didn't end up building... Oh, flips over to the reactor, which is quite a delay on the further Hellions, but... Will Blink be done? Not quite, if this comes in immediately. But... It should be. I'm not sure who's going to be controlling the Blink Stalkers. But the fact the Hellion is there at all. And if the other 2 Hellions are revealed, well, that's quite a giveaway. Blink, still pretty far off. The first medevac is completed. Hellions trying to chase down the Adepts. Looks like Max has control of the Hellions, as well as the Hellion drop.
Ready to raise some hell.
Or does he? Oh wait, Nothing's Perfect is controlling it now. Blink closing in. But none of the Stalkers are really in position to deal with this. Clearly anticipating something. There's a probe patrolling at the natural, but knowing there were Hellions out on the map and anticipating the drop in the main. Blink is done. Boosts in. Spotted. Blinks in. Targets the medevac. Knocked out with all hands. Absolute disaster. Waiting far too long to make good on it. And now, well, in a great wall off there. Well, so for the 5 Hellions and a medevac, they get nothing. Good day, sir. Sirs. Leaving Columbia with 5 Marines and soon to be a siege tank against the impending Blink Stalkers. 3 bases against just 2. It's a disaster. Could probably blink on the siege tank, but also the main base is quite a viable option. A big commitment to the early all-in. A single stalker gets left behind, but this is a disastrous situation. It's going to be near impossible. And they agree. The cheeky Hellion drop was completely and utterly shut down. And there wasn't nearly enough back at home to defend. I think the engineering bay block may have just inspired a better defense. We're doing best of 3 for Archon as well, treating it like another 1v1 series, which is the cool part. But very good reaction time on the Blink Stalkers and perfect micro. Plenty of time to like and subscribe as they deliberate the second map. Michigan has to win 3 of these series in a row. Next up, assuming they survive this, would be a team game match. I'm not sure what we do for match point after that. But... oh, 4v4 probably. Yeah, that's what we did for the last one. 2v2 and then 4v4. Tourmaline. U of M grabbed Terran this time around. And we'll see. The struggle here is really just putting it together. Have to go into a custom team setup with Archon mode for it. But technically could have 10 players on one team against just 1 on the other. Again, not exactly convinced that would help, but... Max says he's good to go. Maybe debating their strategy as the last one. Was less than effective. All right, here we go. In the bottom left, down 1-0 in the Archon set as Terran again, the combined teams of Columbia and San Diego University. We got James, Yokeballer, Max, nothing's perfect. up against the University of Michigan Wolverines, who have to win every series from here on out. And every match, really, because the team games are best of one. With Sparkle Hands, Emaps 2-5 Boy, and Jingming. 4-player Archon mode. Terran versus Protoss. Both teams, I think, getting, after several of these matches, clearly getting better at delegating who's handling what, and possibly why. But still, you can see sometimes the panic when forced to play defense in an awkward situation. It did seem like the attempt for cheese just didn't pan out, but does that mean they have something more macro-oriented in mind? The Hellion drop, I think, was a good idea. It's just the execution left a lot to be desired. Hellion drop is a deadly choice against Protoss, but if Blink is already done, most things are significantly less effective. A lot of early Terran revolves around getting in before the Blink Stalkers, and then you kind of tuck in and turtle in your base until you can punch back with Stim or Combat Shield and some Siege tanks. Now, what is your job? You micro probes. Whose job is this? It's 2-5 Boy. He's got the probe. Doesn't even hotkey it. That's too much effort. As the Reaper's coming out, heading home. 1 Rax expand against 1 Gate expand. Builds a bunker. Pretty conspicuous bunker at this stage. Factory on the way behind. And the Reaper. Gonna play Ring Around the Nexus. Adept on the high ground. No shade, but... And there's no Reaper wall, but the Shade is chasing. Does he hit the grenade? No! Reaper taken out. Adept solidifies the kill. And, well, there goes the scouting. Technically spotted the Twilight Council, but it'd be easier to count the games without a Twilight Council to start than take note of the ones with it. Single Hellion on the way, but the bunker should ward away any more dramatic aggression. Adept just sniffing the depots. Will spot the factory on the high ground, but the starport a little further back. Who's our depot wrangler? Yoked Baller. That is his responsibility. He got entirety of his hotkeys are 2 depots. He's got them both hotkeyed. So they're either all open or all closed. And there you go. Oh, but 1 open, 1 closed. Wow, getting a little crazy here. All right. Always important to have a depot man. As we've seen what can happen when you don't. Blink halfway there. 3rd base on the way. Wolverines taking some advantage of the more defensive opener from Columbia. 2nd barracks, medevac, Hellions roaming. There's not that many units out there spread between the bases. Again, Blink being chrono boosted out. The medevac will not be across the map by the time Blink is done. So that makes it a bit of a liability. It's not going to be a game-ending issue if they lose the medevac outright this time. But, well, it certainly doesn't help. The Stalkers just spread out between the bases, anticipating something exactly like this. 2 Hellions are not really enough to... Especially if there are any Stalkers. At the very least, the Hellion shouldn't do anything, so... Well, a bit optimistic here. Well, gets in and kills 0 probes, which... Well, yeah. Go play with these Hellions. I need another toy. Already? 5 more gates. Robo Bay. Cloak, Banshees, and Stim. So several different directions from Columbia right now. Whereas Michigan seems to be all pulling in the same direction. Robo Bay 4th base, blink and charge. The supply is still about even here, but it's going to be very difficult to actually move out with this sort of army composition. So, there are some Banshees. One Banshee's about to finish. Stagger blinking. Whose job is this? Looks like EMAPS controls the Observer. 2-5 boy controls. So separate responsibilities. One on the Observer, one on the Stalkers. Which, you know, when it's all working out, that's great. But hopefully they don't get their wires crossed. Spotted the Banshee. I mean, he had vision of the starport for a while there. Stalker. Well, intercept it, but without detection, won't actually be able to kill it. Assuming somebody's paying attention. Raven's on the way. Quite a tense, yet relatively passive start. Chases down. Banshee does cloak. The Stalkers will continue stalking, despite the cloak. Are there any more observers? Yes. Are there any close? Less yes. Observer trying to intercept it, but I think he lost track. The hunt for the Banshee is on.
Add-on complete. Nothing left in that mineral cluster.
Nothing's perfect is microing his one Banshee. Now what do we have? Raven versus Observer. Observer versus Raven. Both sides want to snipe off the detection. Neither's going to be able to do so. The standoff continues. Banshee makes it all the way by. And might actually be able to get some damage done in the 4th base. But there's a shield battery in most mineral lines. So a single Banshee is not going to find a whole lot. Observer's there. It's 4 bases to 2 now. So, and there's no 3rd command center. Which is making it harder and harder to see a scenario where a move out is not all in. They've scoured the map for hidden bases. At least one person made that their job. Banshee just... Well, this is my life now. Blink Stalker's cutting back. That is a lot of bio. How many Colossi? 2. Extended Thermal Lance already done. Somebody hit the select all army hotkey. 100%. And I feel like the team's not going to be hyped about that. Finally, somebody. You could see from all corners of the map units suddenly moving. And that means there wasn't anything back with the Banshee. But bringing it all together. And now the preemptive guardianship. The tanks are not sieged. The army is unprepared. And, well, this could all end after... Okay, well... The Wolverines will just rip them apart. And that's it. It just kind of ends. The Colossi, of course, distracted by a single supply depot, as they so often are. But thankfully, there's more than enough Stalkers. The Banshee... if the Banshee could get 38 probe kills, that still wouldn't be enough. GG. And Michigan's on the board. Not exactly the most, intense match, but still. I don't think they're going to complain too much. Well. Up next, I believe we have 2v2. To see if they stay alive. Yeah, did not start off well, and it didn't get any better as time went on. a bit rough. The thing is, even delegating who's doing what is sometimes difficult. Like you say, you control the bio, but does that mean all of the bio? Does that mean the bio back at home? Does that mean the siege tanks? I don't know. 2v2's up next. We'll see who they're fielding. Or getting down to it. The team games have been some of the most intense so far. Not the... Well, Archon, yes, to an extent. But the actual team games, definitely... I prefer them. I prefer them. I feel like Archon is a... Well, from the very start, Archon has always been a cool idea. That, upon further reflection... But for who? Like... Unless the game was originally built around it. Like, the real issue being that if you have someone who's 2 leagues above the rest of the team, it's almost literally better for them to just play on their own. Because it actively hurts them to try to cut out some parts of the build. The muscle memory of actually playing at a higher level. They could have planned and thoroughly practiced. Yeah, these teams that were mashed together because some players had time emergencies will now lose out on their opportunity to win. Bragging rights. Shame upon them. I mean, we see here, there's also some other... Let me check the rules here. Oh, yeah. And now we got... Oh, there's an appendix. I'm getting down to it. There were rules. I mean, the rules are pretty agreed upon. Most of the rules are, let's make it fair and have some good games. And even if the games are lopsided, it's players who are within the same range that they could hit on the ladder, is most of the thought process. Obviously not going to be perfect, but is every game you play on the ladder? Yes, let's pretend you do. A back and forth, dead even struggle without just kind of ending with random cheese at 6 minutes half the time. You might be like, well, the games I watch when you cast, how many games do you think I skip that are 6-minute random cheeses? And definitely wouldn't be enough for ad revenue. Like, it's not unique to lower level games. It's just you get a little bit more picky when you're putting out one video of one series every day or two, as opposed to an entire tournament. I don't know where everyone went. Give us a sec. All right, we're working it out. Like, hello? Anyone? And very intensely choosing. Maybe some debates about who actually gets to play. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Like, how many Slay the Spire rounds can I get in now? Sorry, of course, Slay the Spire 2. Which, we might be playing some tonight. I don't know. I haven't yet really committed much to it, because I know once I get sucked in, it's going to be several days until I get back out. It's like, what if we made Slay the Spire 1, but better? Genius. Alright. Game design. No notes. Of course, we have the biggest debates. Right as we get down to the last couple games. The live experience is, you know, I like to bring you the honest and, yeah. The true live experience. So, this is more than 2v2. If I can count here. Which I like to think I can. Just, you know, checking the numbers. 4v1st, if Michigan wins 2v2 is the final match. Alright, appears some negotiations happened. So, Michigan wins this 4v4. We continue. It's time. Here we are. Gonna try to make all of the same race players significantly different skins so I can tell the difference. All right, here we are. The potential final. Match point. 4 versus 4. If University of Michigan wins, we're gonna have a 2v2 to decide everything. If Columbia San Diego wins, they win it all. Best of 1. Though we've jammed 8 players in, so it's more than most best of 3 1v1s. There we are. And to the southeast for the University of Michigan Wolverines. In the orange, the Protoss, the T-Maps. Alongside Fish in the red. We got Sparkle Hands, the captain, the Terran, in yellow. And last but not least, 2-5 boy in pink. Another Terran. Across from them, the combined Archon forces of Columbia and University of California, San Diego. After some roster issues with, you know, timing and everything. We got... Oh. Nothing's Perfect. Carrying his team multiple days in a row. His roach timings. Fearsome. And unrepentant. And not perfect, but nothing is. Then, of course, in the lavender? We have Cheems, the Terran. Yoked Baller, pulling his weight. And as he better. Our Zerg in purple. And Max. The Pax is silent. In teal. Already some bold moves. As the teams mostly expanding early. But it does not take long for 4v4 to devolve/evolve into chaos. And we'll see which team is better equipped to handle it. Couple pocket bases at the back. Couple Zerg bases at the front. Probably smart to put the Zergs in the front where the creep won't ruin everyone's day too quickly. A whole lot of space to work with. Though, the choke points... actually, there's only a single real choke point in between the first 10 or so bases. There's a mineral wall over to the right side. I don't know exactly how many minerals are there, but eventually can be mined out by either side. Though it'd be a little harder on the opposite one. The Reapers dueling. Oh, and the grenade lands. Cheems dodges the grenade in first blood. Cheems. Sparkle hand's not sparkly enough. But another Reaper. Boxed out by the Adept. The Zerglings in position as well. Yoked Baller going with the classic Zerg rush strategy. Now, quite notably, there is no wall at the ramp on this side. The Zergling count is clearly, very clearly, quite high here. The Reaper! They jostled shoulders for a moment and pulled out their pistols, and Cheems gets a double. Yoked Baller, he has, you know, he might not be the most experienced player, but he knows what he's good at, all right? He's got his strategy, he's sticking to it. It's gonna be another Zerg rush. The Zerglings, not so sprinty across the map. Oh, we finished Zergling speed, there we are. Emaps is probably at the behest of his team, realizing, okay, build a wall. And thankfully, just in time here. Though, and you're not allowed to GG until your team does, Emaps. Just hopefully, his team will provide him with the moral support that he didn't have against Yoked Baller in the previous matches. The depots are raised and the Zerglings are kept at bay for now. Meanwhile, Baller even adding in some drones of his own. No, he's not doing anything. He has nothing in production. Ow! Fuck. I think the Reaper grenade actually bounced the Adept out of the way. And, oh no, it's happening again. Almost every probe is dead. It's a disaster. So, not even Emap's fault there. The Reaper grenade from Cheems, that Reaper that killed 2 Reapers came in and bounced the Adept out of the way. The butterfly effect of losing the first Reaper duel has essentially crippled one of their players. Now, it would be horrible for Emaps if he didn't also have a secondary base. Wait, in fact, this wasn't even his wall. He just didn't wall. All right. This was, I'm sorry, Fish over here. But Emaps is going with a Dark Shrine in the corner. And suffering from the struggles of the wall in at the front. Double drop will be spotted. The Phoenix is not able to engage the Marines directly, but they might be able to snipe off the medevacs themselves. Both Protoss on the Wolverines, for the Wolverines rather, going with the most Protoss strategies. We literally have mass Phoenix and DTs. With Blink and regular Blink. We've got fancy Blink and regular Blink right now. Premium Blink is how they advertise it. But DT Blink is on the way too. Some Cyclones to box out. Knocks down 1 Phoenix. Marines will fire at some others. Meanwhile, the very optimistic expansion from Yoked Baller, but, you know, he seems like an optimistic player overall. A whole bunch of Marines. Some Zealots trying to move through and struggling because the Marines are kind of boxing him out. Phoenixes darting around. The DTs are warped in, but will there be enough to outright defend? They can't go through this side. They have to go through the choke point. Well, the double drop for 2-5. Still in position. Unfortunately, Sparklehands gets all his Hellions caught. E-maps. He could warp in DTs at home as well. But the attack's coming together. Columbia going for the win right here. Right now. Right here. Right now in the drop. Oh, no. The Marines will stim into position in 2-5, boy. There's a siege tank on the high ground, but it's not quite in the right spot. The Phoenix is trying to sandbag this as best they can. Couple siege tanks, couple gun down. Charge lots on top of everything. Micro's back. Phoenix is trying to help out. The door is open. The door is open and the depots are not raised in time. The charge lots come through. The Banshee's trying to help out, but there's no boots on the ground. Where's the DTs? The DTs are being sent forward. A Banshee at the front. The depot's not holding for now. Pulls back another siege tank. Warping in mid-fight. Cheems is on top of everything. And the combined effort, the Cloaked Banshees might be enough to hold for now. The DTs, he can't. He's got no vision up to the high ground. Oh no. The Protoss with Phoenixes and DTs struggling to provide much of an impact as all 4 players concentrate on the Terrans who are being gutted so quickly. The Warpins continue. The DTs eventually may meander their way across. There are carriers! Because of course there are. The Banshees are holding. The air is mostly uncontested. A whole bunch of Dark Templar. There's a dream here. It's falling apart quickly, but the DTs can clean up the ground on either side. E-Maps is cutting off the reinforcements, though he might not realize it. The Nexus is holding. Fish still has carriers. E-Maps has DTs. Cheebs is not realizing, and the Dark Templar are eviscerating the reinforcements. 2-5 boy is at 10 supply, and most of that is in medevacs. His infrastructure is failing, but he still has 3 orbital commands. The DT's on top of Yoked base, and Overseer's coming in. He does have the blink. Unfortunately, not the time to use it. A scan. I don't know on who. More mules dropping all over the place. The charge lots have not yet been cleaned out. Cheems is not on their team. The enemy Terran. More mules dropping for repair. Orbital commands all over the place. Phoenix is trying to hold. The DTs eviscerating the Marines underneath, but some of the Phoenixes are going to get taken out as well. And the bleeding may stop. And it's all on Fish. E-Map's going to lose another chunk. Fish has 121 supply. He's got carriers. But everyone on the enemy team knows that. E-Map still technically has a decent economy. The Terrans have 17 supply combined. Which is not... Maybe needs to share control with his teammates here. I don't know if they're sharing, but that would be significantly more carrying than we've seen so far. The production tab is a little sad for half of the Wolverines team, but the mules will fly down. The stimulus package has been received. And if there was ever a way to come back, that's probably the strongest one. Now Fish has some very hard decisions. If he stays, it could be trouble. But if he goes, it could be easily twice as much. So everyone on the enemy team knows he's going mass carry. All right. There's going to be 4 players ready to deal with it. It looks like he's decided to just defend at home instead of worrying too much about attacking forward and relying on eventually the mass carriers being enough. We'll see if that ends up being true. Another wave. The Warp Prism snuck in. Another mass of Marines could be dropped out. Fish is still mining off of going to be 4 Nexi. Max's Warp Prism. Nothing has been scouted in this corner. Ever so important. There's an Overlord kind of generally nearby. But the Dark Templar and the Carriers were both the curse and the blessing. There were so many. They completely were gutted. But because the Terran served as such an effective sandbag. Oh, the Carriers out on the open field, though, are not going to be enough. The Marines could easily get underneath them. Fish, this could be a disaster. He may need to just recall instead. He launches the interceptors. That's a very important part of all this. Targeting the Overseers or just getting lucky about it. the Marines. There's a little bit of airspace here where I think he can manipulate the ground unit to make it very difficult, but the Corruptors, the Marines, literally everyone is focused on dealing with this. He recalls out before suffering 2 heavy losses. Actually only loses 1 carrier, which is a Christmas miracle. Like, no, the DTs struggling. A couple, Yoked Baller bearing the brunt of it. He is still at 111 supply, which is not bad at all, and adding some lurkers in. Sparkle Hands has dredged his way back. He's got 2,400 minerals. Might want to consider lending some to his friends here. But slowly but surely, 2-5 Boy is, well, also here. The cannons, the carriers. But is there splash damage? Because if there isn't, well, gonna warp in. If 5 DTs couldn't do it, how about 50? That's certainly a higher number. The army is spotted. The Marines behind it. And that is the main issue, is that the Marines, well, getting in range of the carrier. There's a few Vikings there, too. The scan forward. But the DT's body blocking, for what it's worth, almost every interceptor is just gone. The Marines gun them all down. The mass, there's only a single, well, okay, there's multiple pylons. There's a chance maybe to hold the high ground here. Some more Dark Templar coming in, but again, there's just an Overseer. There's no interceptors to fight the Corruptors. The siege tanks for Sparkle Hands have been rebuilt. But he has no interceptors to save the day. Fish has 160 supply, and almost none of it actually can shoot anything. Warps in some Stalkers to try to deal with it. The Marines just chewing through absolutely everything. Some optimistic Archons. A few Tempests being added in for max. The carrier count is being whittled down way too quickly. And, well, back at home, an attempt at a drop, I think, from 2-5 Boy. But the Tempests and the Corruptors are a pretty direct counter. Every player focused on countering carriers, as there was almost nothing left to really worry about otherwise. And the effects are felt. Another huge warp in. Unfortunately shut down. And Sparkle Hands has 3,000 minerals and no units. Everybody else has no minerals and some units. But 100-something supply across the board. And Columbia and San Diego looking on the brink of dethroning the Wolverines for the first time in 4 or 5 rounds of our Collegiate tournaments. The carriers are not enough. The Corruptors overwhelming them. The interceptor count just isn't there. The Tempest from Max. Okay. That's more than enough. The Hydras. It's far, far, far too much. The Tempest one-shotting everything they get in range of. The Marines still stimming their way through. GG! And a dramatic conclusion. That was only 15 minutes. 4v4 is wild. Your champions. The combined forces of Columbia University and the University of California, San Diego. The Tritons. And the Lions. 4v4 victory. A hard-fought series from the start of the tournament to the finish. A lot of great games. A lot of great learning experiences. But at the end, the combined team came together like a team themselves and found victory. Congratulations to the champions, the victors. And Michigan's going to have to pull it together for the next time. But still, thank you to everyone for organizing, to University of Washington hosting, University of Michigan coming out. Unfortunately, they got knocked out first, which, well, unfortunate, but they have a pretty sick setup they can practice for the next time, I think. And also, this wasn't a measure of who could field the best ringer. It was a measure of putting together some fair matches for the teams. The prize is now being known as the champions. Maybe in the future, it's more dramatic, but the idea is people playing StarCraft 2 that maybe weren't allowed to play rated T for T games when it came out, so so I'm happy to put a spotlight on it when I got the opportunity. And so far it's been like at least once a year, if not once a semester sort of thing. So if you happen to be in that scenario, either one of these schools or one that you think would have a team interested, well, you can make it happen. But, all right. Seeing if that wraps it up for the teams. I know Michigan has to get to the airport because, and that's why we were trying to move the brackets along because they're actually flying out tonight. So, and hopefully, plenty of time. Just making sure that we have the info on how to sign up in the future. I know, like, see a lot of people come out of the woodwork. I know there aren't too many younger players, but partially I think because most people are assuming there aren't too many younger players. Promote our Discord for our future collegiate planning. Anyone new and interested? Let me get the link. I think I actually have. So, I know. But you can scan this QR code, which should work even on the screen, and join the University of Washington StarCraft 2 Discord, or it's on the bracket as well. So, if you're watching the VOD, or what a clip, I don't have a phone. If you don't have phones, well, as long as you have a PC, probably play. But also underneath the bracket, let's see if they might have one for U of M as well. But yeah, I like the format. I honestly, I could lean more into the team games as well. I wouldn't mind making it more of a team effort in the future. Ah, yes. And I'm gonna link in the chats right now the University of Michigan, or just if you're around Ann Arbor. I don't think it's necessarily related to going to U of M, but obviously, there's a link to the University of Michigan StarCraft 2. You want to check it out. Oh. Which, you know, might include me in the future if there's anything in person. It wouldn't be the first time, so... Yeah. So, all right. Congratulations to Colombia and San Diego And now I'm debating. Plenty of time. All right. I hope to do more in the future. I like it a lot, and I like promoting it a lot. I think it's super important to have anyone who, well, I mean, you already know the 8 or so suspects, right? Like, the 8 or so players that show up on every cast, and getting anything outside of those, obviously. You know what? I'm probably gonna play some Slay the Spire too. If you're on the YouTubes, well, thank you for watching. Probably not gonna be adding that to the end of the VOD. We'll focus on the backseating on Twitch if you'd like to join. But I'm kind of exhausted from casting 2 days. It's been a while since doing some live casting. Not quite as intense maybe as Cyril versus Maru, but still a whole lot. So thank you for watching on the YouTubes. It'd be awesome if you can like and subscribe. Make sure to check out all those links. And congratulations again. To Colombia, San Diego. And to the viewers for watching. Yes, congratulations to you for